Woodville School Board of Trustees. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll take the roll of our board.
She's going to go. I just sent Shelby to do it.
Dan.
The door got closed. I just sent Shelby to.
Tony. Brandon.
Is it open?
I'm here. Ben, Stephanie.
Open. It's got to be open.
Here. 7 of 7 members are present, so having seated a quorum, we will continue with tonight's meeting. Stephanie?
I would like to request, we get unanimous consent to relocate items 7A and 7B to directly after 6A. To be mindful of time for those participants.
Request for unanimous consent to reorder the agenda has been made. Is there objection to reordering the agenda? Seeing none, the agenda is reordered. So individuals presenting tonight under 7B or out of state travel request, you can bump up in the agenda. All right, we'll move on now to the recognition of visitors that the administration might have tonight. That are here of special note.
Do not have any
No,
special.
it has
Not of
to.
special
Z.
note. All right.
It has to
We'll
stay
move
open.
on to board comments. Does any member of the board have any comments to items that are not on?
Sorry. I know.
It's great to see you all here. Thanks for the
All right. This time we'll take public comment. This is the time to comment on matters that are not on the agenda. Topics for public comment cannot include any pending legal matter, private personnel issues, or private student issues. The board cannot enter into discussion during general public comment. The board may occasionally ask questions to clarify public comment, or the board may correct inaccurate statements if warranted. Is there any public comment? Yes, please state your name, rise and state your name for that case.
My name is Brady Pereira. Can I read what I wrote?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. My name is Brady Pereira. I'm a parent of two Stevensville Public School. I'm here today to address some concerns over the safety of children in each district. It has been brought to the community's attention that an incident of sexual misconduct occurred in February on the school bus between an older student and a younger student, with unsettling decision-making from the administration around that investigation. Why were the police not involved in day one of the investigation? Why did the school notify to bring in qualified agencies to conduct a thorough and unbiased investigation on day one? Why did the school not fulfill their duty as mandated reporters immediately? Why did the school take it upon themselves to act as untrained investigators? There was talk that a special board meeting would have been held to vote on the expulsion of the student perpetrator. With there being several other instances of sexual misconduct and threats of violence at school, the outcome of the expulsion sounded like a more than appropriate outcome to protect the safety of our students. Why was this meeting canceled? How much does the board know about this incident? How much does the board know of other incidents that have inflicted harm upon students by the student perpetrator? What are the school's plans to, one, keep our children safe from this person if he is not expelled? Number 2, how does the superintendent and administration plan to implement standard protocol to prevent sexual and/or violent assault from occurring on campus, on the bus, at school activities, especially from a repeat perpetrator? How does the school district expect families like mine to maintain trust and attendance at a school where the adults in charge can't be trusted to do the right thing to keep our kids safe at all costs? How does the district expect community administrators and staff in the decision to allow this behavior in our school system is enabled and causing harm? What will be done to protect the victims? What will be done to prevent further victims? Please ask your superintendent, who are you protecting, the children or yourself?
Further public comment?
to.
Right, we'll move on to item 3, which is an action item tonight on our agenda, calling for the nomination of a board member for a one-year position vacated by trustee Nathan D. Board voting for nomination. Tony?
I'd like to nominate Skip.
All right. And that Skip has been moved and seconded, or nominated and seconded by Tony, followed by Fran. There is no need to call for accepting of the nomination because the candidate is simply based on the fact that they apply. All those in favor of seating Skip to the open one-year position for the board of trustees, please say aye. Oh, we can do, yes, sorry, yes, we voted. My mistake, yes.
Well, I would like to say thank you both for being here this evening. I think we have two really great candidates, and we will still have an open seat here later this year. So however this vote goes, I would really hope we would see, you invite and for that open seat that's coming up. A couple of things that really struck me about Chris was his student focusedness and his experience on the board and experience with facilities. A couple of things that really struck me about Skip was his focus on doing legislative work to move things forward with funding. Your clear honesty and your inquisitiveness to try to keep learning, to start learning what it takes to get on board and your learnings that you're learning from. So, thank you both for giving really interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, my apologies for reading that. So, yeah, and Dave, yeah, we have, at least pop it open, we have to by law leave it at least partially. And thank you though. Thank you, Jennifer. Further board comment on the nomination. Dan?
Having worked with Chris, I understand Chris's strengths, his communication, and so forth and so on. One of the things that concerns me is that whoever comes on this board is going to have to be ground running and knowledgeable, or at least be aware of a lot of the issues that this board is facing or actually over some. One of the things that concerns me is that since Chris got off the board, I haven't seen Chris at any school board meetings, any committee meetings, or anything like that. I have some activities that have been possible. Chris, you were virtual. Skip has been at a lot of our school board meetings. I've seen him at virtually every committee meeting that I am a part of. And I just want to make sure that we understand that next year is going to be, I think, for this school district, a very, very interesting year with lots and lots of issues that we have to deal with. And let the board understand that those people that have the opportunity to make those decisions by sitting there need to be informed and knowledgeable and have some background. What we can do, those things will help.
Thank you. Further board comment.
So I guess how this works is just gonna, whoever beats the nomination takes the punch. I mean,
Whoever receives a majority.
but I mean, as far as nominating, you know, I mean, I guess for me, the reason I'm asking is because I'm not really opposed to either of them, but. And I was the one who invited Chris to come. You know what I'm saying? It just seems almost like it's like, I gotta hurry up and nominate somebody really quick so that.
Well, I'll explain, yeah, I guess so we're all on the same page. There is no vote taken, so every trustee has more than 5 votes. And so there is no rush, there is no There's no one, there is no way to put anybody at a different advantage. It'd be like a paper ballot. You just get the certain one. But I understand, there's one that's nominated now.
Sort of a bit with them, both these guys have a lot of experience. Skip learns a lot, he was very engaged in the veterans organization, he has been very attentive, and he goes out of his way to make sure he gets these meetings, takes notes. Sometimes he does a better job of being organized than I do. And so, that kind of commitment is pretty rare in the community. He shows up 100% of the time. And so if I can get his skills good enough, Chris will go. Chris brings a lot to it as well, especially in the facilities. However, Chris is very engaged in the construction world, and some of the contracts that we sign, have his name on it for recommendation, and so I don't know where that ended up. There's always a delicate balance there, a conflict, and so, I guess I'm happy that we have two pretty good candidates here to choose from, but I'm very humbled that Skip shows up 100% of the time, without the employment. I think it'd be amazing.
Further comment? Comment from the public?
I just would like, I know both of them. I've known Chris longer, since I had his son in second grade. I've known him since then. I've seen him on the board and what he's done for the board. He's very, he's thoughtful, makes his decisions thoughtfully. I've seen that in action at previous board minutes, meetings. And I think he would be an excellent person. Not that Skip wouldn't, but I know what Chris has done in the past.
I guess I felt that Stephanie kind of said everything I was thinking, so I wasn't gonna speak, but, I think we're blessed and encouraged with the fact that we have two amazing candidates. I've worked with Chris on the board for most of the tenure that I've been on the board. I think, as Mrs. Motley said, he's very thoughtful, even tempered, helps us come to some really good decisions over the years. Skip is super dedicated. Again, I've seen him at every meeting and every committee meeting. And I know he's got the best interests of our community in mind. I honestly don't know how to make this decision. Like Stephanie said, we have another seat.
Yes.
Any further comment from anybody? All right, one nomination on the floor, as stated earlier, only an affirmative vote will be taken. There is no negative vote taken in an election process. So all those in favor of seating Skip, please raise your hand. I'm gonna vote to seat Skip as well for 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 constituting majority on our 7-person board for the moment. We shall seat Skip Gibbons. So I do hope that we So, we are obligated to we're gonna take an informal recess
Just
here. very
tiny
brief,
break.
Where we step away from board business and swear in with our notary of the public and our board clerk, Skippy.
Skip, if you'll. And then I will quickly fax this to the county, and then he is good for this evening.
Okay, so we need to give you enough time to
Just,
do that.
yeah, I can run and do it really fast, yeah.
Okay, you're gonna go to the district office, so. All right, so we're gonna stand recessed here until Linda gives us the heads up. We want to be legal and do everything right, which means that has to be on record.
How much money is
So he can't log into this thing. I reset his
Yeah.
I told him I would keep it and we'd figure it out tomorrow. Oh, you can.
2 minutes.
Oh, boy, yeah, here we go.
So that's your way.
So that's why, yeah, and I'm glad to see that on the ballot.
Yeah, that is.
But yeah, she really wants to do that. She was so
Did you know his password?
Yeah.
We'll try to set it so that it doesn't.
Okay.
I was about to say, do you know where your kids are at right now?
I do.
She came in and she goes, it was just a movement, and I said, I knew it was, I just didn't know what movement it happened.
Yeah, I'm happy to help you.
So I appreciate you doing that, because I know I didn't.
Oh, no, it's, don't worry. It helps with the tickets, because that way we, I have the track wait track. And also I can see which one he says that I need to do right away. So, it helps, but it's okay. Okay, so that should be good. And then the other thing is I'm gonna check the settings. It shouldn't be asking me to reset it.
Well, it wasn't asking him to reset.
Password never expires, it's already checked. You know what? It's just, I could just run that user cannot change password. I'm gonna do it. Wait a second. Weird. Okay. Well, we can try that password reset and see if that works. Let's see. Oh, I feel like I've had to do it.
That's why when Ben called me, he was like, I need the IT guy to help me reset the password. I was like, you know what, I can do that. Like, we don't need to call you.
Yeah, but unfortunately I had to get into the tech account to do it, so you kind of did Gmail.
To do this, but I can send his Gmail. I
Oh,
redid
right,
it.
right.
Oh my God. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Oh yeah, but we removed the chair so they've got a little more space. We were a little tight packed. So. I know your bag needed its own designated chair.
Okay.
I did not lose.
He just stepped to the restroom for a second, so we're good. We did it here. We did it over there. So he is good. I don't know. Sorry.
Should we?
I didn't bring it back with me though. Oh, he has his copy. Skip. Yep. This will be your seat. For you.
I don't know.
Right. Call this meeting back to order. We are out of our recess now, and Skip Gibbons has been duly and legally sworn in with for Valley County and with our board clerk. So Skip, welcome to the board. All right, thank you. All right, and Chris, thank you again for your time with us previously, and hopefully moving forward very quickly. Thank you. All right, we will we'll move on tonight to our consent agenda. The consent agenda is organized into 3 sections: credit card payments, approval of claims, and approval of minutes. Items on tonight's consent agenda have been organized as such due to their similar nature. It has been deemed unlikely by the superintendent and board chair to require individual discussion. We'll start first with credit card payments. As a reminder, these are items that have already been paid as per board directive to pay the district's credit card balances prior to board approval. Tonight's credit card claims are 43324 through 43335 for a total of $13,189.23. These claims are in your packet. Does any board member have questions about the items that have already been paid? Does any member of the public have questions about the items that have been purchased with the district credit? All right, we'll move on to approval of claims. Tonight, these are claims 43303 through 43323, as well as claims 43336 to 43381, with a special claim, that's 43381, so we have that included in there. Claims tonight, these claims have not been paid and are subject to the full review and oversight of the board. Does any trustee have questions about tonight's claims? Does any trustee wish to remove an individual claim from the consent agenda? Does any member of the public have questions about any of the claims presented tonight? Right. Lastly, we'll approve our recent minutes. Tonight, you have minutes in front of you from the February meeting. I believe that meeting was also on the 12th. So, any trustee have questions? That was on the 10th, excuse me. It's on the 10th of February. Does any trustee have questions or corrections for the minutes? Does any member of the public have questions about the minutes as presented on the February meeting? Right, I failed to state the total of the claims. I stated the total of the credit card. The total of the regular claims is $289,137.89, with student accounts totaling $24,761.08. Trustee approval of the consent agenda only pertains to those items that trustees legally have the right to approve under 2-3-202 of Montana Code annotated. Is there any objection to approving the consent agenda as presented? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved. Right, we will move on to the approval of employment. All employment is pending completion of satisfactory background checks. Coaches and athletics are pending satisfactory completion of MHSA requirements. District-wide employment, being asked to approve the hire and availability of district-wide long-term custodian substitute, Stephen Conklin. Is there a motion? Jennifer, seconded by Tony. Board comment? Public comment? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Long-term custodian substitute has been hired. Staff for the high school district. We'll start first with Arlia Joyner, special ed, Richard Brusha, football assistant, Rowley DuCross, track, Charlie Olson, tennis, Ben Gunsler, baseball, Anna Hauser as the new charter school director, Brandon Endress, baseball assistant, Cole Germain in a volunteer baseball position. High school positions only. Is there a motion?
I move to approve high school district staffing recommendations as presented.
Stephanie, is there a second? Second by Tony. Discussion by the board.
What's the term on these?
Term on
all these ones that we're voting on?
Well, it would vary. So a special ed paraprofessional is at will, can give 2 weeks notice. Ideally would stay for the school year. Football, all coaches. So all coaches listed on here. no matter what, head assistant volunteer are year to year. There is no term of, there is no greater term than that. And then charter school director would fall under, it'd be an administrative director level position, so it would not be a CPA position, but it would be a year-long contract would be left with the hope of starting either June 1st or July 1st. Mr. Koenig?
Actually, we would love to get them helping to support us now.
Okay.
So,
So if we can approve tonight, we can get going a little
Yes.
sooner, but again, there'd be no more.
Yeah.
in the year. But all coaches are all year.
Each, yeah.
Further questions from the board? Questions, comment from the public on these hiring decisions? Dan, how do you vote? Aye. Tony, how do you vote?
Aye.
Fran, how do you vote?
Aye.
I vote aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
And Billy? Aye. Motion
Um,
carries.
It's, you skipped
Oh,
Jennifer. It's a high school. It's high school. Yeah.
You go, you're just all over the place.
It's okay.
All right. Skip, how do you vote? Jennifer, how do you vote? Motion carries unanimously. Very good. Okay. All right. In the elementary district, we have a handful of resignations. Being asked to accept the resignation. Deborah Buckley, middle school para, Shiloh Poling, middle school basketball. Christiane Schmidt, special ed para. Yvette Larson, first grade teacher retirement. Steve Lewis, who we've accepted his teaching retirement already, but retirement from middle school cross country. And Steve Lewis again, middle school track. And before we go too far, I specifically want to thank and recognize some dedicated teaching staff that's on this list, including paraprofessionals and as well as the great work that Yvette Larson has done. Stepped into her classroom a handful of times over the past few years and just always impressed with what she was doing for students and continues to do for students throughout the rest of the school year here. And she's been a great asset to our elementary school. We'd like to have her. So, that being said, is there a motion?
So moved.
Billy, is there a second? Seconded by Tony. Comment from the board on these elementary district resignations. Comment from the public? Right, the right way. My apologies last time. We'll start again with Dan. And Tony.
Aye.
Fran?
Aye.
I vote aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
Billy? Aye. And Skip? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. High school district resignations include Ray Gavlak, baseball head coach, Brody Estelle as our athletic director, Warren Noggle as a baseball assistant coach, Jamie Smith, our high school assistant principal, and Zeke Caney as our high school principal. And I'd be remiss if I did not greatly lament the loss of educational vision, leadership, direction, especially that this administrative group has offered. I'm not qualified to offer much commentary on baseball coaches, but I know those are great guys too. But the short time Brody, Danny, and Zeke have been with us in administrative capacities have been nothing but very, very positive with some really great things that have happened in the school and in the district, especially in high school. So appreciate that. Appreciate that very sincerely. I know each of you have your own individual reasons for making some changes, and so appreciate that. Appreciate the time that you were able to put into our school. So with that, is there a motion? Tony, is there a second? Seconded by Fran. Is there at this time would there be further board comment? Fran?
I want to also thank our high school administration, Brody, and Danny, and Zeke. Obviously, when we lose amazing staff, we're sad to see them go. but we hope the best for you in your future. And I personally know that Stevensville is better because of the three of you being here. And so we appreciate your time. I personally appreciate your time, and we as a board, everybody, we appreciate you being here and the impact that you had, not only on our school district, but on our community.
Further board comments? Tony?
If we vote no, do they have to stay?
All right, we go down and find out. Further board comments? Dan?
So until you walk in the three administrator's shoes, one has no idea how amount of time, energy, and effort is required in order to perform the process. Anytime I've ever been up here at the school or I've been at activity, those three have always been there. They've been there for the kids, been there for the staff, they've been there for the and I've gotten to know all three of them professionally. I've also gotten to know all three of them personally. Not only have they been great additions, contributors to the school district, they're great. For them, we
Further?
Can't put a point on that, but I just want to say thank you guys. Made an impact and I feel like it's been.
Further comment? Public comment? Please state your name.
I'm BJ, I run the school buses. I want to say that all these three have been a huge help in everything. I'm new to the position and getting these guys' help in everything. Brody especially, he was here before me getting everything done with Jason and then getting that set up and training everybody else to make my job so much easier and catching on little things here and there. Daddy's been a big help in getting everything kind of situated. And Zeke is always in there, hands-on, doing everything. They got a weird dynamic with their coffee and serving each other kind of thing. I mean, it's great to see everybody getting together, getting everything done correctly and getting along with everything. It's just everything so much easier for my part of it.
Thank you. Yes, please.
I'm Caroline Jensen. I am nowhere involved in the school and stuff, but I've done a lot with the youth and sports. And Brody and Zeke specifically, you guys have been so helpful, more helpful than I've had experience in the years that I've been here. So gonna be missed, but thank you guys so much for everything.
Further comment? All those in favor of accepting the resignation from the high school district as presented, please say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-1. Right, we'll move on to our informational items. This is where we are adjusting our agenda, but we'll start first. Our student body representative update from Mr. Keegan.
Hey, looking at that schedule, it's pretty packed, so I will work this a bit, so I don't have to go through so much. Okay, starting off, students recently participated in an academic world quest, a competition focused on global knowledge and current events. The event went very well, and students teams placed 30th and 35th overall. Students had a great time at the competition, and one highlight was getting the opportunity to meet the ambassador for India, which made the experience especially memorable. In FFA events, Stephenville students competed in a Colorado competition and saw results. The agronomy team placed first, agri-mechanics placed 12th, and veterinary science placed 14th. Students also recently competed in district farm business management and took first. This Friday, 22 students will compete in agronomy and agri-mechanics. FFA members are also fundraising for the FFA Washington Washington Leadership Camp. Drew in a brave rifle raffle, which I have tickets from. One last thing here, I know I sing McKenna Monroe's praises a lot here, but she's doing something especially cool lately. She asked me to share that she wishes that she could be speaking about DECA Nationals today, but she's currently attending the United States Youth Senate program in Washington, D.C. This program selects 2 student leaders from each state to spend a week learning about the federal government, meeting national leaders, and discussing the future of public service. She said it's an incredible honor to represent not only Stevensville, but the state of Montana. She believes she may be the first student from Stevensville to be selected. So far, delegates have met U.S. senators, the Senate historian, and parliamentarian, and taken part in discussions about our nation's future. They've even had the opportunity to meet a U.S. Supreme Court justice. I just wanted to touch on that really quick.
Thank you, Tegan. Are there questions from the board for the student updates? Questions from the public for our student body representative? All right, thanks, Tegan. And this is our amended portion of the agenda. We're going to take item 7B and swap that right now. And so at this time, we'll be hearing an action item related to an out-of-state travel request from our DECA advisor and superintendent. So, Mr. Coleman, you want to kick us off?
Sure. We had 2 students that have qualified for DECA Nationals on April 24th and 29th in Atlanta, Georgia. Again, McKenna Monroe will be competing in human resource management, and Addie Meyer will be competing in independent business plan. And so I'd like to hand it over if there's anything else you guys want to say.
Yeah, I'm Adelaide Meyer. I will be competing in independent business plan. Hopefully, if your groups go to Atlanta, Georgia, this April 24th through 29th. I'm here on behalf of McKenna Monroe, who's gone at Washington, D.C. right now. She'll be competing in HR management. We recently attended state and were successful in our endeavors there, so we're hoping to go to nationals and place well there as well. Is there any questions? All right.
I just love how down pat you have this asking to travel out of state.
Thank you.
No, congratulations.
Are you guys funded?
Yes, we're fully paid for right now, and we're just waiting on a few checks to come in from our vending machine. We're in great shape.
Our DECA has a store that works the whole year, so all the kids work in the store, fundraising, staff shirts, 5th grade shirts, big jacket, little jacket shirts. They make all of those. DECA stores are fundraising, work with homecoming, with student senate. And then at FCCLA and DECA have a vending machine that the kids also run.
I appreciate Tony's question for several reasons. Probably the first and foremost being that if they weren't funded, I want to compliment Ms. Bauman for everything she just mentioned there, and I think she sells herself short. This year-long cyclical ongoing plan is I deeply appreciate it. And we have several groups in the school that do that. We have several groups that are fundraising all the time, but Ms. Bauman. All right, Ms. Bauman, do you want to, is there anything you need relevant to share about the trip? You're going to Atlanta, is there anything you want to say?
I'm excited to go to Atlanta. It'll be a good trip with the kids. That was kind of cool. If you guys did not know, it literally is an international competition. We have over 20 different countries that also come and compete with the kids. So not only are they networking with kids all across the United States, but also other countries, and they get that opportunity to meet, compete as well. And there is over 20,000 representatives at our DECA National. So it is a little bit behind FFA, but it is one of the biggest and largest business opportunities.
Right, the floor is open for motion.
I move to approve the out-of-state travel for the students that qualified for the national DECA competition in Atlanta, Georgia.
Second. All right, it's been moved by Stephanie, seconded by Jennifer. Is there further board comment or questions about the Questions or comment from the public? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You, are on your way. Atlanta. And we welcome any students or anyone who wants to take this opportunity to part. Certainly welcome to, we appreciate the student engagement. Yeah.
You guys are leaving, I just ask you, like, I think it's incredible. These trips to DC and these different concepts across the United States, I think it's amazing. It brings a center of leadership to Stevensville, Montana. It is second to nothing. It's incredibly important what you do, and so I just wanted to thank you. I was thinking, that goes to everybody. There's more coming up, I think. But thanks for stepping up and doing this stuff and running out there. Thank you.
Thanks. No, very good, thank you. All right, we'll step back into our agenda as presented, which will take. We'll move into informational item 6B, which is the district safety committee and our emergency operations. We have several members of that committee.
I can set us up. As he's setting up. So this year we reinstated the district safety team to get after finishing the emergency operations plan. And it was something that had begun last year and never got finalized. And so we have a great group of team members that have put extraordinary amount of time into developing this emergency operations plan. We have given the board the full plan, but it is something that we do not release to the public with the full plan due to security of what our necessary steps are if there is an emergency. We do have a lot of information to share with you today to make sure that you understand all the pieces that we're taking into account to make sure it is everything is properly used with procedures, and our next process is to roll it out to staff.
This is how we evacuate the cows.
Thank you.
Don't need to stick to the script. That wasn't it, sorry. So, anybody who's had the opportunity to do an operations plan, it's so much fun. It's a 75 page, not pounds, document. But as you go through this, a lot of good things happen. All right, you find things that you had forgotten about. You realize that we moved locations, or this is no longer the place. So the work that was spent by the committee to do this was time well spent. Our committee, all right, was Trevor, all right, Nicole, Orion, superintendent, all right, Joey Work, Brody, all right, and Officer Franklin. Okay, so we had a big team of us that got together to work on this. All right. Go ahead. And there's Connie, yeah, she was on. Next slide. So we're gonna go over, not all of it, but we're gonna go over quite a bit of it. The main purpose here, all right, was to make sure we go over all of the steps that we need to take so that we can go from the process of communicating out to our community, what we're gonna do before we do it, all right? All the way to the point of worst case scenario, how do we return a student to a parent in a worst case scenario that we have to evacuate a child from our school because something bad happens, all right? And then all along the way, those are the pieces that we had to do to make sure that we could get from that piece to that piece.
So the emergency operations plan is the district's official document that guides how we prevent, prepare, and respond to and recover from emergencies. The plan clearly defines roles and responsibilities for staff, outlines response procedures, and provides guidance for maintaining communication and accountability during an incident. The EOP applies to all students, staff, visitors, and school-sponsored events both on and off campus. All right, so the planning process and collaboration. The safety plan was developed through a collaborative process of the school safety committee. It will involve further input and partnership from local law enforcement, fire, EMS agencies, and we utilize state guidance and national safety frameworks to ensure that our plan is thorough, coordinated, and aligned with professional emergency management standards.
All right, so our EOP or emergency operations plan is designed to protect our entire campus, the ELP students to the 12th grade, and staff. We are in the works but haven't solidified, including VBEC and Head Start that are at the north end, but on the same campus. I've been in contact with directors for both of those, and I'm just waiting to hear back for them to get them kind of in the flow of our plan, so our paths don't cross and we cause more harm than good in a situation if needed. So our campus alone is sitting around 1,060 students and over 150 staff members that are on campus from day to day. So we had to obviously take that into consideration with our plans. It accounts for individuals who may require additional support during emergencies, medical, physical, language, and other functional needs. So we have identified the students and will continue to do that year to year to ensure that we have the proper support to get those students evacuated, which is safety, whatever it needs to be, depending on the incident. And planning for accessibility and individualized support was a critical component of making sure that we're prepared. We don't want anyone left behind. Our district uses what is called an all hazards planning approach. Just kidding. I won't tell you about that, but we'll tell you about the big stuff. We tried to cut it down so we weren't here all night. Our emergency response framework is built around nationally recognized systems known as the National Incident Management System, or NIMS, and the Incident Command System, which is shortened to ICS. These systems provide a structured way to manage emergencies and clearly define leadership roles, communication pathways, and response coordination. It takes a whole village to get through some of these situations, so we made sure that we have everybody in line to do so. Using these systems also ensures that we can seamlessly coordinate with local emergency responders, sheriffs, fire, medical, all of that. So this is, I'm not going to go through this piece by piece, but this is a layout of our incident command structure. All the way from the top, which is our superintendent, Mr. Conan, we have directions to all of our staff. They all have an emergency bag that was restocked this year with all of the necessary supplies that they would need to take with them, whether they're evacuating across the street or elsewhere, as well as on field trips or other trips that they may go on. And it breaks it down into responsibilities. So the major ones are our liaison officer, which would be our SRO, Officer Franklin, public information officer, which this year is designated to be Mrs. Lerner. Our operations team director would be our business manager, Glenda. Safety director, who's in charge of overseeing the safety of the district, physically, as well as our medical team is Sierra this year. The unification director is Mr. King. And then from there, we have other assignments below, all the way down to our kid wrangler team. So that would be in the event that we're reunified somewhere else, and we have kids in various locations at that place. Those people would be responsible for going and finding them to deliver them back and coming back up to their parents if we're in that kind of a situation. So this is our structure that we can have in place instead of trying to figure it out when we're in the middle of an emergency.
All right. As we all know, effective communication is essential during emergencies. The district maintains procedures for internal communication with staff and students, as well as communication with families in the community. We also coordinate public information through designated personnel to ensure messaging is accurate, timely, and consistent. We just rolled out a new app called Emergent 3, or E3. It allows us to run all of our drills and incidents through it. It allows for student check-in and locations of where everybody's at during those drills or emergencies. And we utilize Infinite Campus in the event that we need to send a parent message. We can get that out rapidly to every parent in the district. So those are both really important components that we've got. In 2025, we did a first aid survey in the fall. This is it's going to take me a little bit to get through all the information here. But we conducted a district-wide survey to better understand our current preparedness level related to first aid, CPR, and AED certification. We got 107 responses, which gave us a strong snapshot of our district's readiness. The results showed some pretty important trends. First, 86% of respondents indicated that they either do not currently hold CPR and AED certification or were unsure if their certification was current. Similarly, 87% indicated they don't hold current first aid certification. However, what was encouraging is that 91% of the staff indicated they had previously held these certifications at some point, and that suggests that the skill base exists within the staff. We also learned that nearly half of the certifications expired more than 3 years ago, which highlights a gap in maintaining current credentials rather than an all-out lack of training experience. Perhaps the most positive takeaway from the survey was that the level of staff willingness to step forward. 86% of respondents indicated that they would be willing to become certified or recertified if training was offered locally through the school district. Additionally, 34% expressed willingness to serve on a school emergency response team. Overall, these results demonstrate a strong staff support for increasing emergency preparedness. That kind of takes us into the emergency response team and training plan. Utilizing the survey results, we reviewed the current emergency medical readiness across the campus. At this time, we have 13 staff members district-wide who hold current CPR, first aid, AED certifications. Of those 13 individuals, 9 expressed a willingness to serve on the emergency response team for the district. These individuals are distributed across all of the grade levels, including 4 at the elementary school, 2 at the middle school, and 3 at the high school. Based on our current coverage and staff interest, these 9 individuals were formally designated members of the emergency response team, and they're put in that way in the E3 platform. So if there was a medical emergency on campus, a teacher could report that with E3, and those individuals would get alerted that there was a medical emergency and where that was. Beyond the immediate team information, we've developed a multi-year recertification plan. Superintendent Conan is really behind making that happen. So the goal is to recertify 40 staff members this year with an emphasis on coaches or educators that have a higher risk for student injury and illness. And then next year, we would recertify an additional 41 staff members. These certifications are valid for 2 years, which allows us to build a sustainable training cycle moving forward. And we're going to be working closely with the local fire department's quick response unit to develop cost-effective training through the American Heart Association.
Okay, so one of the ways we continue to basically hone our craft is we run our drills, right? And you guys are all familiar with the language of our hold, secure, the lockdown. You've seen those over and over, time and time again. So we maintain a drill schedule and we run those drills. How we claim effectiveness is, you saw that slide that showed E3 and Infinite Campus. We know we're doing really good when they match. In other words, when we run a drill and we take roll on E3 and it matches what our system says on Infinite Campus, we can feel pretty comfortable that if we were to go off site, we could say this kid was not here to begin with, so we're not worried about trying to find this kid to return him to the parent. Or this kid was here to begin with, and we can make sure we return them to that parent. That's how you know you won the game, is if after every drill, you can say we've accounted for every single kid. So we continue to work on those drills as we go through this process right here. The next slide, just so everybody's aware, all right, this is one of those documents that does contain some sensitive information, right? So not everybody needs to know where we're going to evacuate people, right? Not everybody needs to know all the ins and outs of certain procedures so that they can't, be ahead of us or try to do something. So what we'll release, all right, is for people who need to be able to implement it, is they'll get the full document. But people who just need to be aware of what we're doing, there will be a different version, which will be a much trimmed down version that doesn't contain any sensitive information. For example, in the main one, we go identify by name who the kids are that we need to make sure we're taking care of. Those might be kids in wheelchairs, kids with different kinds of needs, but that's not a public document. People don't need to know those things. We identify which exits we're going to use in our plan. The public doesn't need to know which exits we're going to use. So just so you're aware as the public, you'll see a document that doesn't have all of the sensitive information, and that's for the safety of the children. And GBOS.
Yeah, the board role in school safety. And so this is the part where our school board and community come in to help support us. We have policies in our policy book that deal with safety. And this is something we continually keep looking at as our policy committee meets once a month. We want to make sure that we're reviewing policies that connect to all these procedures at least yearly, and make sure they're all up to date. We are also working on being able to push out more resources to not only to our school board to have information and what role they play when we have an emergency, but also resources to our local community. Having been a part of 2 different evacuations in other school districts, and then being able to have a reunification with several schools from in Great Falls from I told you this before, the refinery had a fire and they had to evacuate 3 different schools around that were within 2-mile radius of the refinery in Great Falls, and we had to relocate 3 schools into other schools within Great Falls, and we learned a lot as a district when we did that reunification. Likewise, I bring that up because that's something that we're going to need to practice with our staff, is the procedures that we're going to need to do to put in place where our reunification site is at and what that looks like. All the way from building a map of the location to how traffic is going to flow, to working with our police department emergency services to make sure they have access to our site. And so there's a lot of pieces that as we roll them out, again, some of that is sensitive to not making sure everyone knows what we're doing, but making sure that our school board is aware of how that works, especially when there is an emergency. And then being able to have proper communication to our public right away, so they know what the process is in order to be able to reunify if we do have to evacuate with their students. Obviously, every situation is so different, but we are working on several different scenarios to be able to handle those effectively and efficiently as we can, and we have people that we will continue to train in their roles, and then making sure that our board is aware of all those processes. Next steps, kind of just talked about that, with what I just said with training and going forward. Obviously, continue to work on our partnerships with our local police department, sheriff departments, and fire and medical. It would be great to work on a combined scenario with all of the emergency services with us, as well as busing too. That's something that we practice in another school district, was help fast. Can we get our buses here quick to evacuate the school, how fast can we get buses here to be able to get kids on those buses? And so there are some more scenarios that we need to continue to keep practicing and working on. We'll continue to keep updating. As you know, this is one of our school board goals for the year, and by no means does this mean we're done by presenting this emergency operations plan. This is just the foundation that we're going to continue to keep building.
Any questions?
Thank you. Frank?
I have one question, and it kind of stems from the water on staff here. And when y'all did one of the drills, she was not on campus, but she was alerted, so.
And her and I had a conversation about how to handle that.
Because that was one of the concerns when that happened, is she's not on campus, we know the kids, which kids are on campus, do we know which staff members are on campus?
To speak a little bit more to that, I don't know if she was here the day that we attempted our training with our E3 mentor, but there were some technology issues and we weren't able to fulfill that full training. So there is actually, just so you have an idea of how it works, there is an offsite spot on our map and it's labeled offsite. So if I'm at home and something happens, I click offsite and that tells everyone here that I'm not here, you don't need to worry about me. Yep.
Thank y'all for the work that has gone into it. I don't know all of it, but I do know some aspects here and there of what has been done and trying to find a location big enough and things like that. And I know that a lot of work has gone into it. I really appreciate the work that has gone into making sure that all of these scenarios, or as many scenarios as possible, can be looked at and dealt with before the potential emergency happens. So thank you.
Yeah, it's been quite the process. I've been on the emergency operations team this is my third year. We started with 3 people and we met twice a year and we didn't get very much done. And this year, it was a priority and the committee expanded and we were able to get some work done. So that was really, really great.
I think one piece just to reassure the concerns with, different ideas and pieces of that E3 app, we've now run 2 drills with using the app. And the first one, we had a list of probably 12 things that people had issues with. One was a district-wide issue of timing and processing within the app. The second one was I had 1 report and it was something simple to fix. And I think we're ready to roll with it. Exactly, yep.
Yeah, progress. Like the first time we did it, we were lucky to get all the teachers to tell where they were at. And the second time we did it, and I'm just gonna confess this now because you guys have already said nice things about me. But we were able to do most of our attendance, except for some guy who was attached to all of the Harmony kids, was then able to mark that was me. So we would have had really good scores if I could have taken attendance better. But by doing it, we found out, we've attached these homeschool kids on a record to somebody to take roll. So that's an issue we have to work out. We're learning a lot by doing the drills and working with the system.
Quick, maybe a side note or thought on the first aid and the survey. That's wonderful to get assessment of everybody with that. So just kind of curious, and I appreciate that John brought it up on bus drivers. So bus drivers all carry CPR and first aid. I don't think AED. I think CJ. No, they don't do AED. They don't do AED. So I don't know how that could factor into having a more robust, set of resources available. And then coaches. Coaches are all CPR, Brody, first aid, not AED, or?
Yeah, it's not anything extensive. There is the online course that needs to be annually. Okay, let me backtrack. Obviously, if somebody has that kind of training outside, they just need to show us proof.
Yep.
And we have that. The course that's renewed annually is CPR and AED. On those numbers, though, like that was staff within the building, you didn't include our coaches.
Right.
Because yes, our coaches, that's one of the
They have to carry that.
annual requirements.
Yeah.
And to be fair, all staff go through what's called SEX or Safe Schools training every year, but it's not industry recognized credentials. So that's what we're shooting for, right? Is people that, you know, have the hands-on part, that feel comfortable in responding to an emergency. We've gotten pretty lucky in the past couple of years with some really close timing to some pretty major emergencies with school people after school. And we've been lucky that hasn't happened. I know Connie and I talk a lot about that. So yeah, the goal is to have more people willing and able to respond if we have something.
I would love to see this. I don't know that it has to be the function of this particular group, but would love to see us, especially with the requirement, we're paying for all the coaches, as we should, you know, we absolutely should, to make sure, but that training can be done hands-on in person with resources here in the Valley, and other schools do that and don't use the online. And so I'd love to see, and I know, you know, Brody, your days are, you know, very numbered, but they love, I don't know, somehow in this overall discussion, if we're gonna pay for it, which we should, that's not up for debate, transition to because I know I've been to both in various things I've done, and I know which one's better. So would love to see us switch to the in-person offered by some of the coaches here in the Valley, and just tell our coaches, staff, and then whatever full-time staff would want to engage in that too. This is the day it's offered. Here it is. We have it here at school.
Piggyback off what you're saying, one of my drivers is a first responder and a certified trainer hands-on. So if you guys need any avenue for that, that would be ideal for my driver as well. And if I can get any staff that wants to, I'm actively upgrading my fleet for a better sped vehicle, for more capacity, better equipment. But if anybody wants to come out and see how the lifts work or the buses work or any ins and outs, by all means, come out and get familiar with it. You guys included. I mean, come on out, see what it is, see what the little tricks are of the buses, and that would be a big help in general, just to get anything expedited.
Thank you. Skip?
I'm sure it's already done, but I didn't see it listed in there. After every training session you do, I'm sure you have the after-action meeting to assess how it went. If it was a true, real emergency that involved the entire school being evacuated and whatnot, it's unlikely that it would go perfectly. The odds are pretty slim. May go well, but is there something in the process where everybody knows there's going to be an after-action assessment and they know they're going to be there 3 days later, whatever it is?
It is in the emergency plan that talks about after that when it will be reviewed, and one of the review cycles is after any major emergency or use of the plan. So.
And I've been a part of reunification drills where you use the whole school, where we actually practice scenarios of stuff that goes wrong and you have to deal with it during it. One of them that I made a mistake on was, and everyone made fun of me in my district at that time, was the fact that I gave one of the students to one of the, I didn't know this lady had a twin, and so I didn't ask for her ID. And so that was my thing. I just thought, I looked at her and I thought that's it was actually her niece that I handed him to. And so protocol procedure we had was make sure you verify with an ID and the paper from IC. We had Power School in that district, but you had to verify those were the right people. So it really taught me a lesson to make sure we verify with an ID for that. So scenarios like that, where we've had a disgruntled parent that is, they have no rights to the kid, but they show up for an emergency to try to take the kid, right? And so that's one of the scenarios we did. But we had over in this district for about an hour and a half when we ran this evacuation drill, we probably had 6 or 7 things happen we didn't know were going to happen because we had a third party running the helping us run the drill. So it's scenario work like that I think is important to put in place. So our people that are running these drills have to be problem solvers and communicate and bring people together to be able to solve them right away. So we will be doing stuff like that. We can put you into some of the scenarios if you want to do that.
Yeah, great work putting this. This is important, and this is a huge undertaking. And for all intents and purposes, it was incredible and very comprehensive. One thing that caught my eye was talking about pushing that to the community or opportunities for community awareness. So is this something that the public access plan will just be accessible for people, or is there going to be a more informative process or something that we're going to do to communicate this to the community, or is it just kind of available?
Yeah, we talked about what can be released to the public and what we want to keep safe, right? And so we're going to use the industry standards that we have from these companies we've worked with to be able to develop a smaller version of the emergency operations plan that can be public. A lot of people know the stuff on the back of our card with what all these mean and everything, but I think that's a piece that hopefully that the community will know, is that we have some procedures for different types of scenarios. Anything you guys want to add to that?
I don't know what the website deal is, but hopefully we'd be able to have a public access document available digitally for folks. It's still sizable, right? The paired out information, it doesn't account for a lot of information, so.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Good job. Good work.
All right, move on to item 6C, which is a presentation from our curriculum director and team on the proposed adoption of the social studies curriculum.
Up while she gets ready. We went with social studies for grades 6 through 12 adoption this year. They've been meeting routinely throughout the whole year. They have followed pretty much the same process that we have put in place with the English language arts process that they're using for the social studies process. They included the middle school teachers in this as well. We chose 6 through 12 and not a K through 12 process because as you remember from the English language arts purchase of Amplify, there are a lot of standards that are in Amplify ELA curriculum that meet both social studies and science standards. And so as we are learning this curriculum this year, we are also learning that a lot of those standards for social studies are being hit. And so we need to assess as we go through that this year if we need to go with a specific social studies curriculum that's going to help meet the standards that aren't addressed in ELA. But we felt like it's something we wanted to move forward for 6 through 12 for sure because they were due, right? They had lots of books that, and then they've been working on this. It hasn't been just this year. We kind of pushed them to move backwards to go through the whole process this year. And it was interesting, and I'm sure Beth will talk about it, but as we went through the process, I think some of the original ideas on where we were going with curriculum as we worked as a team and looked at K-12 vertical alignment, we started realizing that there was a better resource that you liked. And I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, but that's the power of the process of getting people involved. We had lots of time for the community to view the programs that we had that were up. I'll stop talking and let you guys go.
And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, beautifully, Kyla is at home with her grandkids. She's back at school this week, And we started this back in December. So this team has been working for a very long time, and Kyla was a part of all of that, going through all of those materials. And then these two needed extra time to look through the key materials without our middle school team, and then they all came back together. So that's kind of how that all worked. And unfortunately, Derek was going to be here with us today too, but he's homesick, so he apologizes, but I will cover his slides, and I do have notes from him that I will share with you as well. So this was all in your packet, what we have come together to look at, and I'll just explain kind of the umbrella of all of it, and then let these, the professionals here actually speak to what they're going to be doing in their classroom. So our big vision here, our big vision here is really this particular department desperately needs an update. They probably have the oldest curriculum that we have on campus. It's outdated, they're having to fill in gaps, it's just not serving us. And we're really wanting more. Also, there was a big movement to build a framework for social studies standards across the board, a framework that you overlay on top of your state standards that allows a more inquiry-based education. These teachers are doing this already, but this particular curriculum is actually outlaid to just make it that much more accessible and easy. And all of it works that way. So we'll go over all of our materials. The Savas Learning Company will be our core from 6 all the way through 12. So all of our kids are going to get that. And then between W.W. Norton and BFW, we found our AP books that are kids that we have. Total right now we have booked out at 73.8, and that includes all print, so every child will have a book in front of them every single day that they're working out of, but we will also have digital access where they're gonna, and I'll talk to you more about actually what's in that, but that comes with 6 years front page. We don't have they can't raise the price on us. It is set, it's paid for, it's done, we will have the access, okay? And I can talk to you more about movement with that if you're curious. Anyway, so this is that framework that I was talking about, the C3 framework. So it's based on college career and civic life, and the idea is to produce active engagement, to weave literacy skills in. You'll remember last year, those of you that were a part of our discussion, how critically important we've discovered the science of reading, right? This is imbued with the high end of that. So the end result of all the work we did through our ELA curriculum, this follows suit. It just carries it forward. And it is woven throughout, and even Derek's comments through this, so what really excited him were the primary sources that are part of this. So that's kind of our idea. So this is what our 6 through 8 teachers will be using. There are really beautiful pieces on the digital side of things here that come with it, where we can super differentiate the learning. So kids who need assistance to be able to hear the reading while they're doing it, we can differentiate levels of reading. It's just really accessible to all of our students, not just what is expected at that grade level. So it can differentiate and open. There's also lots and lots of experiential field trips where we can go out and have experiences and field trips with follow-up activities where they can analyze and integrate what they've learned in that as a community together in there. This is the way that the framework works. They start with sparking a connection, really igniting interest, move into an investigation. That's where they really dive into all of those primary sources. So they get their books out, they look through all of that. They start to synthesize ideas, put them all together. This is a big piece where those literacy skills, a lot of writing in this curriculum, and then demonstrating where they get to actually have some project-based learning and inquiry where they can present some things to one another. And actually, let me open, I just want to read Derek's words to you. Here we go. I'm just going to read from his voice. I was a huge fan of the primary sources that are used throughout this curriculum. These are sometimes hard for schoolers to understand and use. But from what I found, Savas does a great job making them usable and provides many differentiated options for our students to really use primary sources in their learning at their level. We would lose a lot of that without the digital access. Actually, we would lose all of that without the digital access. This curriculum fits with our currently selected essential standards very well, and the great options it provides makes it easy to focus on the standards we feel are most important. We will continue to make National History Day as a required part of 7th and 8th grade. This program is an incredible way to practice the inquiry process because students are responsible for every part of a very individualized project. But in truth, I largely jumped into this because our current curriculum really doesn't provide anything in this area. This new curriculum will govern us even more project and inquiry options to add what we already are doing. Now, and that's just something that we all know, if we can get our kids active and engaged in producing their own books, they're just gonna be more engaged in learning. And I'm gonna pass them on to these folks.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is you? Well, that's whoever wants to talk, you guys are listening to.
Well, when we sat down to look at these different curriculums, we wanted something that's more than just a textbook. We've got a U.S. history textbook that's copyrighted 2004. I was still in high school for reference. We want, Les and I do a lot in social studies beyond the book already. We want a good curriculum to supplement what we already do. And the Savas curriculum for U.S. history and world history has some interactive components to it that would be a great supplement to what we do. Which, of course, Derek mentioned the primary sources. That's going to be a critical component because a lot of our Montana state standards require that we teach students to analyze the sourcing information related to standards, things like context, point of view, purpose, perspective, etc. And this curriculum already has primary sources kind of lined up where kids can explore that both within the textbook and with a supplemental primary document book that we can run copies off for kids. So it's preloaded with a lot of really good things. But the most valuable thing I saw when I was going through this curriculum were the assessments. Now, I know that last year there was a big push for us to have some kind of standardized benchmarking method. We were looking at IXL. We piloted IXL for our social studies department, decided that wasn't a good fit because a lot of the social studies assessments weren't fully developed. It didn't really suit our needs. This curriculum through Savas has pre-assessments to benchmark where our kids are at and good end of learning assessments at the end to show our kids' progress, as well as regular formative and summative assessments we can give throughout. So where we can see a lot of value, at least where I saw a lot of value, was through the assessments that we can standardize across our departments. And that's the big value there. Did you want to speak to the order of text at all?
Just make a couple of comments, and more of a summary comment. I came here in 2016, that was my first year, and the year after that, there was a need to bring in some textbooks, and so back in 2017, we started really a piecemeal process in terms of adopting curriculum. I basically went to the principal at the time and said, hey, I need a government textbook, and so we ordered at that time. We didn't really have a plan in terms of how we were to do that, and I had some prior experience with one particular publishing company that I found to be really successful in a prior district. So we implemented that because it did have a lot of these testing components that now are much more robust than what we initially had. And it gave us a good foundation. And then, in the next few years after that, we adopted other titles from that particular publishing company, that's Teachers Curriculum Institute. And it worked pretty well for us. But we've never had a comprehensive plan with which to kind of adopt curriculum. And there have been some stops and starts throughout the last 10 years to do that. And I want to really compliment Beth. She's done a tremendous job in terms of bringing us together. And I think, honestly, giving us kind of some hope as a teaching staff because we finally been listened to. We had an adoption process that dated back to 2023 where we were supposed to adopt a new curriculum at that point, and we got passed over. And for the next 2 or 3 years, it was always, well, it's not your turn right now, it's going to be somebody else's turn, we'll do this, and then we'll look at you next year. So I want to thank the district and John specifically, and then Beth in particular for getting us together and giving us the opportunity to really take a hardcore look and feel like we were actually going to go somewhere. So the biggest piece that I'm really happy about is we had a day and a half to look at textbooks. We had reached out to a number of publishing companies. We had no restrictions in terms of who we could contact. And I want the board to hear from us specifically looking at every possible title that's being published right now. And it's kind of a daunting task, and we took some pictures because we walked into the middle school conference room, there's just textbooks everywhere. But it was nice to be able to step aside from the classroom and take some time to really look at that curriculum. And I think, I can probably speak for Brett too, the SAVAS curriculum was wonderful. Just the sheer number of resources that would be available to us as teachers. I think one of the things we're going to be happy with is we both will have a teacher's edition for the first time ever, which is, and we'll have enough textbooks to actually put in front of kids' hands. So the comments that Brett made in regards to the primary documents really speaks to the teaching style that both he and I use. We're constantly having our students do critical reading, and I think he could probably attest to that also, that we see tremendous benefit from our students when they're exposed to more challenging texts. Because then when we ask them to do even harder things like National History Day or Academic World Quest or read PEEP or mock trial, those kids are already prepared to do those additional tasks because they've been given some of those fundamental skills that we provide in the classroom. And I think now that we have a much more comprehensive, or hope to have a much more comprehensive curriculum, consistently across the junior and the senior year, I think we're going to be in much better shape. With regard to the government textbook, Magruder's is a standard textbook that's used in government classes for probably 40 years. But they continue to be relevant as a textbook publishing company and as a particular textbook. So their materials are very robust as well. And although it's not part of the same package with the SAVAS curriculum, it's going to be, really deep with resources that will benefit our students through the semester government program. So I'm pretty happy with that also.
Part of the SAVAS curriculum is they do have some online digital resources that are inquiry-based, immersive, and there's a bit of a hook that captures students' interest leading into some of these units and lessons. They'll be able to explore some topics through their online curriculum. They call it a quest. I think it's probably clever marketing, label it as a bit of a quest. But again, this ties in with some of the deeper projects that's lined up in that SAVAS curriculum, which we covered that this semester.
Thank you. These are just other components of this particular curriculum program. There are a number of robust features in terms of podcasts that benefit a lot of the students. We've got some students who are starting to experiment with producing podcast type content on campus. I think that they have more examples that tie back into our curriculum. It's probably going to help them quite a bit. In terms of being culturally responsive, I think this is just going to be sort of a more updated feature to a lot of the publishing resources that are provided to us, to take into consideration a wider point of view. I don't think that's going to move the needle too much for us as teachers, because we do a lot of that with our students already, specifically in terms of our incorporation of continuing education for all standards in our classrooms. And that's a bigger piece that I think is much more important for Montana. These are just supplemental features that made the SAVAS curriculum appealing.
Yeah, agreed.
And then in terms of the AP classes are a little bit different, and so this is where I get pretty excited about this, and I've been talking with Zeke about this, and I appreciate this support for this program as well. When I came to this district back in 2016, we offered AP Government, and we offered AP US History, and that was it. I had a little bit of some influence there to try and build out a much more robust AP program, and so my goal a year or two after that was to try and build out AP World, which we did. And so now Brett's teaching the AP World classes and has done a wonderful job with those students, where he had tremendous test scores last year. And I really appreciate it, because those kids last year are now my kids this year, so thank you. But my goal in being familiar with the AP curriculum is to provide students with wonderful opportunities to be really strong critical thinkers. And so the next piece of the puzzle was, let's see if we can build out AP, one more. And it's part of my goal to try and bring in a new class called AP Human Geography and offer that specifically at the freshman level. And One of the reasons to do that would make this high school kind of the centerpiece in terms of curriculum within the entire valley, where we offer in the social studies AP classes from grade 9 through grade 12. So we would offer AP Geography at the freshman year as an elective course. We would offer then AP World as an elective course within World History at the sophomore level, AP US History as an elective course for juniors, and then AP Government for seniors an elective course. And I think I've always made the argument, and I hope I'm not wrong in this, but I think that becomes an attractor because it shows the greater school community we offer a rigorous curriculum. And we have, I think, a plan to be put in place to offer AP Human Geography. It's just going to depend upon our enrollment and how we can work it into the master schedule. But these produce really good content for these courses. We have consistently seen test scores increase across all of our AP classes. We have more students who are interested in taking them. I credit that a lot to Brett. Brett's help in coming in, because prior to his arrival, we didn't have the teaching support. It was really in place where we could have offered that AP World class. And so he's done a nice job in getting that off the ground, so I appreciate it. So these are a couple of the titles with for those particular 4 classes.
Okay. So, we did get a lot of, because we've been working on this for so long, I was granted some extra time to really work on the price tag of this. It came in very high at the very beginning. We did manage to get almost 30% carved off of the top, and a lot of freebies thrown in from all of these companies. But this is kind of how it's broken down. So this is your core 6 through 12 that all students will be getting. And this includes that digital access for all 6 years paid ahead of time, paid in front, upfront. And then this is a breakdown of our AP offerings as well. This is just a different way of looking at exactly that same thing. And this, well, actually, no, that's just the core. And then here, this is just another breakdown of AP. So just in case, I really put this in the board package so you guys can look at kind of how it all broke down. But all we need is your approval so that we can move forward and we will get these materials in their hands. This team worked incredibly hard. They worked beautifully together. What I can say is that we are incredibly lucky to have such passionate educators in front of our kids, and I just don't believe that there's anything quite so powerful as giving them what they need to do this. So this is our ask. Any questions?
I want to interject if I can. One other comment is, one of the reasons we wanted to get a jump on this school year and try and present it to you early in the spring, before it becomes spring too quickly here. We want to have some time, if we get the decision to purchase curriculum, we want to have time to look at it and get it planned out. And if we have then some time over the course of summer to do that, that's going to position us really well to implement all these texts. This is a lot of change. It's a tremendous amount of change for us, because we're going to be leaving all of our comfortable resources that are well-known and well-used, and switching hats in every subject area. So that's going to take a big lift from both of us to get that done. And it will require some support for us to have some release time to talk and communicate and plan that out. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to present early.
And also to make time for the PD to happen, that needs to happen. Because that comes with this price tag as well. Questions?
Ron? So, having done this twice in my educational career, I appreciate the staff's time, the effort, and what you've done. I spent an hour and a half in John's office the other day, asking questions, raising my concerns, mentioning things that I like, that I don't like. I don't want to spend an hour and a half here litigating that here with you. But there are a couple of things that I think are important. Inquiry-based education is the antithesis to the Stanton delivery. We know that. And being able to effectively implement that type of educational curriculum requires special skills. Inquiry-based education is helping. If the instructors do not understand steps, the types of instructional requirements, it doesn't work. If they don't understand what scaffolding is. If you can't scaffold, you can't provide inquiry-based education. So I guess my question is, and I'm looking at your screen here, I see professional development session. One of the things that I would like to be assured of is that all the folks that are going to be using an inquiry-based approach teaching social studies have thoroughly and documented in the process, the steps, how to scaffold, what the different types of inquiry are, because it's not as simple as it seems. We like to think that it's teacher facilitated, it is, and we just kind of turn the kids loose. That's the recipe for failure in inquiry. It doesn't work. And I've watched people try, when I was here, to implement inquiry-based education in different class settings, and it didn't work because they didn't know how to do it. And so I would love assurance, some kind of assurance, that everybody that's going to be implementing this curriculum is going to be thoroughly knowledgeable and immersed in how to implement inquiry curriculum.
Absolutely, and that's kind of what Les was just speaking to, is that he wants, they know that they need the time to get in and put on a new hat here, you know.
All the questions that you asked me, Dan, too, I also brought to this committee team, so they know all the questions that you had. What I heard in the presentation also that goes right along with what you guys talked about is there, like the inquiry part of it is really after we dig into the primary documents and get to knowledge base before we're able to then ask the kids to be able to create their own questions that they want to dig deeper into. And so when I went through the materials one more time, talked to these guys, I felt like that answer was in there, especially also with the fact that it talks about professional development that would go with it too. Is there anything else you guys want to add?
I would love to make a comment, which is, we're going to make a potentially decision to purchase curriculum for this district. It will probably be in use for hopefully the next 7 years, 5 to 7 years. Put you one of those books you put in the classroom, nobody learns a thing. The people who know how to use that material, it implements that skill with kids. There's proof and testimony to that. The two of us, Derek Berkeley and Kyla Franson, had almost 90 students participate in National History this year. It's the largest number of students in the entire time I've been here that have ever competed in that program. We took a smaller group to the regional competition in Helena. We're now taking 27 students to the state championship. Those are kids who already have learned inquiry-based thinking, and that's not me. That's not just Brett. It's all of us working together. And it's not just us as social studies teacher, because it's our colleagues in the other departments as well. So there is a movement in this school district, particularly in the high school. I can't speak for the other schools. But we're benefiting from the work that's being done in the other buildings as well. If we collectively get a mindset that's growth oriented for students, that, communicates to them the expectations that they have to be critical thinkers, and you hire the right people and put them in place, it's not going to be books, it's going to be people.
So I don't disagree with that. You can teach a class and never have a textbook. That's the truth. It's who stands in what stands in front of the class that does the job. So you stated that every class will have a textbook. When I went through your documents, I noticed that AP had X number of textbooks and a subscription for 1 year. When I looked at Regruters, and I'm pretty familiar with Regruters, that's all I ever taught for 20 years. I taught document here. I noticed we purchased 35 textbooks, and there was a 6-year subscription. Why the difference?
The government class will we're not going to have more than 30 kids in the class at any one given time. There's only one teacher who teaches government currently. We need a few extra for student checkout. But the other option would be to try and order enough textbooks for every kid to have a take-home version, and that's just not cost-effective for us. And that doesn't also meet our needs in a semester-based class. So 35 textbooks is really probably somewhere between 33 and 35 is a sweet spot.
And we need a couple extra books for our special ed classrooms as well on top of that. So
I noticed that in the government expense, it's over $12,000. A Bruder's textbook currently sells, you can buy one for less than $150. So the balance of that expense is a subscription. Is that correct?
Potentially, yeah. I know that.
We have to look at the numbers.
my understanding is these publishing companies are wrapping up the assessments, the primary source documents, workbooks, testing software, all that stuff is being rolled into their subscription. So you can either get just the textbook and get it for pretty cheap, but if you want access to the supplemental materials, the lessons, the assessments, all of that is paywall behind the subscription.
And the subscription also provides the kids with digital access to their textbooks when they're not at school.
So why 6 years? Why can't you do what you're doing in AP and pilot it for 1 year and say at the end of the year, we're gonna make a reassessment year rather than committing to 6 years upfront?
We absolutely can, but we're buying the textbooks along with it, so we're kind of committed to the program right at that point, if we're buying the textbook and the digital. And if you buy them 1 year at a time, the cost is extremely high. Whereas if I can get 5, it's the same price per year at 5 years and 6 years. And so I gave you the larger one just because I'm not convinced that we're gonna have the funding we need to do this again in 5 years, even though that's the cycle we're hoping to do. This buys us another year at the most discounted price that they can give us. That's why we chose 6.
3-year cost, back to the same way.
3 year, no, it grows each year until 5, and then it stays the same for 6.
It's pretty consistent with the curriculum we have right now. So you can, the government class, the government textbook we use initially came with a 3-year electronic license, and that's been renewed a couple of times by the district to give us access to the testing components and the additional student resources. The current AP US history textbook came with a 5-year electronic license, and then once that expired, we lost it. We didn't have an ability to renew it, which was, for me, one of the factors to look at publishers if they can maintain or at least promise that they can maintain access to those materials. And so these were the resources that looked the most convenient to our needs.
Bruder's has been around since 1970.
So, you guys have me at an extreme disadvantage. I'm not an educator. But I can do math. And my concern is this, and I want good curriculum as money can buy. At current rates of inflation, around 12%, we're gonna be about $1.5 million short for tech budget by the end of this year, or by the end of this 10-year levy that we just put out. We asked for essentially $500,000. So that means that everything we do technology-wise, we're gonna rob out of the general fund from somebody else or some other department somewhere else. And so I am, and when you look forward further than that, it gets worse. But even at that, how do we dial back the tech side of this, the subscription side of it? Because it is going to eat us up. And then that combined with the costs of trying to buy insurance to protect kids and the staff, to protect kids and kids' data online. I see Amazon Web Services already been fined $25 million for stealing people's kids' data online. Malware, shutting down whole schools, making them buy their systems back. How do we get more away from it? And then just from a technology standpoint, I think we need to have the best tech education there is, but at the same time, we have a lot of behavioral problems in our school, and it's directly related to screen time. 15 to 20% additional anxiety, less reading comprehension, things like that. And then someone looked at schools that had a lot of money. Palo Alto, there's $38,000 per kid. They're still 15th in the world. I mean, we're light years behind other countries who are doing things a little bit differently. And this is very hard. You know, when I look back, when you research all of our past curriculum, they've been pretty much disastrous for the last, since about 1970. And so some of them adopted with little or no data just because. I'm perfectly fine with you guys figuring out the curriculum, but somehow the subscription portion of this is going to bury the school. In 20 years, it's, you know, 60 million at 12.5%, starting right where we are today at baseline. And so when I look down the road, when I'm not here anymore, I would like not to saddle people with the, you know, $800 or $900 a year tax increase they already can afford. And so, I mean, with the absolute utmost respect, you know, this needs to get figured out. And so, I'm open for any of your thoughts on this. How can you dial back? We have a 6-year buy-in, that's great, but then, you know, it's a little bit like, you know, your video account that, you know, was $8 in 2019 and now it's, you know, now it's $28. And so this, they're gonna hook you one way or another, and the further we get into the digital world, the more they have you have no options. And so, keep trying to figure that out, with all humility, looking for any.
We could absolutely just buy textbooks for the kids. And then the thing is it's the teachers that lose the resources when we do this. Like then they've got to have the hard copies of everything right there in front of the kids. First, and then we would have to buy teachers net because all of those are free in here. We would have to go and purchase. So a lot of the freebies that you're seeing are the hard copy stuff that they're giving us for free for getting the subscription. So then we would have to go back and, so it's not a wash is what I'm saying. You don't just, if you don't do the digital subscription, then we have to go out and buy new ones. It plays some, yeah, so like there's play with the money there. It's not cut and dry, it's not black and white. So we could absolutely do that. What that means for these educators is that they are building every single one of those assessments. They are searching for all of those primary resources. Like it becomes, they have to do all of the, it becomes tremendous burden of work and research on them, rather than they're being up in front of the kids, hooking them and getting them involved in their own learning.
I get that, but,
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. I'd like to drive a Ferrari too, but I just can't afford it. And so I'm really, with all sincerity, trying to figure out how you keep the school and business in year 5 and year 10. And then when I look at the people that are screaming and yelling about sports things or other maintenance issues, because that's what I think has gone on in the past. We spend money in places that maybe we shouldn't have spent money, and then we bought from over here to help cover this, and we're like a bunch of firemen running around putting out fires everywhere we go. So I see the tremendous value. I use technology every single day, and hopefully I can continue to afford to do so. But when I look at what it does to the school budget over a long period of time, you know, people forget that a penny doubled up to 28 million at the end of 21 million at the end of 31 days. And this same sort of compounding is going to chew up the budget. And so, you know, if we're all going to retire in 6 years, then this is a great plan. But if we're going to expect the board to sit here in 8 years or 6 years and continue to balance the budget, and I don't see how the math adds up. And so
If I could, Tony, almost everything you're saying, what's right. I mean, that is all. Everything you said is correct. Unfortunately, with curriculum companies out there right now, every school in the state is having these same discussions and problems with the budget, right? And so what you're seeing from other states across the nation is they start deciding for the whole state what curriculum they're going to buy. And once the whole state decides, they can get a much cheaper basis. You know about this when we learned a little bit about the science of reading with Mississippi, right? They were number 50. And so what did they do? As a state, they came together and decided that the only way that they're going to be able to move the dial is to be able to buy statewide curriculum. So I can't see Montana doing that because we have so many districts, 400 some districts in the state, and it's all about local control. And so unfortunately, every school district in Montana at some point is going to have these same discussions. And we are getting chewed up in our budget from all of the subscriptions that we have. And that's something that we are cognizant of as we choose what we're going to use. Obviously, social studies will come around again in another 5 or 6 years for the curriculum rotation that we're on, and have to continue to make that decision. Last year, we made that decision as well with ELA. We felt like the Amplify curriculum was more hands-on and books materials than the other programs that we looked at, and so we felt good about going forward with that. But you are correct. How to build a budget going forward, knowing that inflation is the way it is, and then curriculum's turning into a Netflix society. This is something our state needs to tackle and our nation needs to tackle too, on how we're going to provide that basic education for students. And that's why there's an interim committee on school funding right now that's trying to decide what's the level of a basic education that we have. There's a handful of school districts across the nation that are doing the exact opposite and going to strictly no technology at all. And so I understand that to me, in my philosophy, there needs to be a fine balance between what we're doing hands-on compared to putting it on a screen in front of us. We have too many jobs that kids are going to be going for that have some technology on there. So to totally do away with all technology, I have a problem with that also. But I think these guys have put a ton of time into going through all of the curriculum to come up with the best one that they feel like meets the students that are seated in front of us' needs, as well as where they want to head with the type of instruction and curriculum that they want to put out for our school district. And so we do have it set for the budget, that it is doable for where we're at. We had this planned to be able to do this going forward. You're right. Are we going to be 6 years down the road and trying to make another decision about the subscription-based curriculums? I think this is going to get louder and louder in education, is having to pay for all of this. I mean, it's in all different areas, right? So is this the time to say no and for us to go back to the drawing board and to find a curriculum that has no technology?
Well, I'm not against the curriculum with technology. Especially, I think in grade school, that the screens are extremely detrimental to kids. But I only get about once a month to vent all the frustrations that I think I've driving down the road, and so, today's the day. Well, it's a big deal. You go out here in the public world and people want to kind of know what you're up to and what you're planning. And all this being said, I mean, we're on a sovereign wealth fund for the state of Montana, similar to what Norway did, how paper things, what Alaska did, and trying to figure out how to get the state to buy Northwestern Energy so we can have a state-owned co-op, so we can afford electricity. I fight these battles every day. But it's a huge thing for me to sit here and vote for something that puts a school in jeopardy down the road. And so, maybe it's not this one, but maybe it enters into the conversation when we start doing curriculum in lower grades and just being super cognizant of it. And when you look at curriculums around the world, Singapore beats us up all the time, and they basically have very little technology until they get into high school, and then they usually join textbook technology systems similar to what you are. But we're somewhere between 20th and 35th in the world in education, and I applaud what you guys do, and here's what's going on here. But at the same time, I feel like I can't just sit here and not ask what we're doing with public money.
lost a little my train of thought and throw a pencil. I love that you are acknowledging or incorporating that Amplify. I think, sorry, I'm a little scrambled. I think that to Tony's point and addressing some of these things and the time and energy that you guys have to teach all this material, right? Incorporating the building blocks that we're giving these kids in the ELA curriculum and bringing that into our social studies program, I think is a beautiful move. There's another piece that I lost track of that you also incorporated into this, that I think that's when some of the magic happens, is when you try new things in. It's the 6-year subscription. So in a way, it is a subscription, but it's also a purchase. We're looking at a block of curriculum, and we will have to deal with it year 7, right? But I think the hybrid of book and online curriculum is, I think, a powerful piece of what we're doing here in Stevensville. I love that we're staying book-based, and I love that we're able to grow with our online piece of it. And the fact that we're able to get that for the social studies program for $73,000, which is so due for curriculum. The time and energy that you guys have put into this, I think you've been very strategic about the pieces that you put in place, and adding more AP classes into this is something that I'm really appreciating also. I think there's things over that, and there's also funding sources available that will help come back to our district and keep rebuilding those pieces that we're putting into our future kids. So thank you for that, and I think this curriculum is strong, and your choices will help. So thank you.
And I want to throw out one caveat with this curriculum. Now I'm not going to bore you with the story I told John. One time I was a TA at the University of Montana. I was associated with Missoula County Schools, specifically Meadow Hills Middle School. It was in the area of science and mathematics. That was in the 1970s. They were using differentiated education and using what we're proposing here. They bought a program in math and science that 5 years later was much like this one. 5 years later, they couldn't work. They couldn't make it work. Well, I don't know why. I wasn't associated with it. But I've always, as a result of that experience in inquiry-based education, I believe has a place in education, has to be very, very carefully managed. Whether the Missoula County Schools failed to do that, those programs when I was involved with them, I don't know, because I was probably in that position. But I understand pretty well inquiry-based education, but I think it's something that is being implemented, has to be very constantly monitored. Staff members that are implementing it have to be monitored. There has to be a significant amount of professional development in order to make it successful, or I would hate to see Stevensville 7 or 8 years from now saying, this Sabbath program doesn't work. I'm hoping that it does. But I believe it's the responsibility of, if we're going to go to an inquiry-based educational system or curriculum, that part of the puzzle was done, and the other part of the puzzle was done. I always believe that you can't understand the theory if you can't perform the function. You can't understand the war powers, take what's going on today. You can't have a conversation about potential congressional war powers if you don't understand a whole lot about the Constitution, about a lot of it. You can't have that. You can certainly do a lot of interesting work for the education of war power, but you better have a foundation, or you're not going to be able to succeed with it.
I totally agree with you. And I feel like I don't have a crystal ball, and I can't tell you that that won't happen. I mean, CKLA has happened. We had one school come and dump some materials on our doorstep because their teachers couldn't hack it because they didn't have the follow-through and professional development. Our teachers, on the other hand, were told they wouldn't see growth this year, and they have seen extraordinary growth. And so I believe the educators we have here and the way that we shine a light on professional development and collaboration and vertical aligning and all of the way in which this district has started to turn and move together, I see it.
Let's see, I will be on board. Yeah.
Come visit me and I'll keep you updated, or not.
As a former educator involved.
Question on Montana history, 7th grade?
Yes.
Didn't see it.
No, there is a curriculum to purchase there. They have a beautiful program built and created that they check back with standards all the time on, and it's functioning well, so we're not replacing any of that.
The Montana history curriculum is created by the Montana Historical Society alongside the textbook. It's very, very affordable. And the book that we currently have, after talking with Derek, it's not been updated. But we were talking about how it would be nice if they gave us something more recent. I think it goes up to like about the early 2000s. It'd be nice if they gave us another decade after. But the book has not since been updated so that it does not need a new purchase.
Are you suggesting that if the state got in the business of helping with curriculum, it's affordable and accessible?
It is incredibly affordable, incredibly accessible. The materials, the supplemental lessons and assessments are free once you just buy them.
What an amazing idea.
I used to teach juniors, so I used that book quite a bit.
Okay, but bottom line is it's not part of
It's
it.
not, there's nothing to purchase.
And we continue to teach a semester of that or a year.
I believe we're on a semester of it. I was talking with Derek about it. When I taught it, I used to teach in Power, Montana, over by Great Falls. We did it as a whole year, and it worked well as a whole year. I think Derek likes his as a semester. That's what it sounded like. So.
Sorry, they're not here.
Those kids in Power were smart. That's all.
They liked it.
How much churn is there among the teachers when you do a lot of professional development, where you never get to really get good at your craft, you just constantly look down one day, there's an upgrade, and now you're back to professional development. How does that affect teacher psyche and retention, and if you're never able to really master your trade?
In my 10 years, I've never been sent to a professional development training by this district, ever.
Because you got 20-year-old books, you know.
But I've sought out my own professional development training, I've written grants to get there. So it's been up to me and a couple of my colleagues to do that independently. With the purchase of a curriculum, maybe there's some hope that there will be support for some actual professional development within our curriculum. That would be wonderful.
So is that something we should be considering as an additional expense to pay teachers for PD? Is that?
I would think as a district, if you're going to support one particular curricular area, you probably should focus on supporting all curricular areas, especially for core subjects and social studies.
As Dan was mentioning, if we're gonna implement this new curriculum, we better darn well make sure our teachers have been trained to implement it correctly.
You can always mandate you're going to do something, but you better have ways to do it, checks that are being done, accountability, all those things become part of making a curriculum successful. Don's an expert on that. Defer to him. I've been out of the business for 20+ years. Times have changed, things are different. I wrote on the chalkboard, kids did inquiry and investigation. We sure didn't plug in the computer, and we didn't do them all wrong, but we were pretty successful.
What does that look like in your full time? I mean, maybe this is a kind of ones that you're trying to get the lid back on. What kind of time does it take? What are we asking a teacher to do for professional development, I guess? in your way of time?
Typically, I mean, like, for example, over this last year with the ZKLA, there was a full day at the end of last school year, there was a full day at the beginning of this school year. It's all, I mean, it's all written into they're without kids, of course. And then we have actually, we've had a coach come on site and work with all of our teachers, and they've each had one or two half-day virtual trainings as well. But we've also carved out half days with subs, they can work as grade level teams to dig through their curriculum and collaborate on it together. So,
With regard to the AP curriculum, both Brett and I have been to AP trainings through College Board. They're typically a week long. They're typically with other teachers who teach that specialized subject, and it's very intensive.
I have not been to College Board training. I did some professional development training, but not through College Board because we could not.
I would propose to send Brett.
Well, I don't know what I know, so I think.
it's important, it's tremendously important. And it's something that we have lost touch with, I think, in recent years, and it's coming back, I think in a really robust way.
Can I make one more comment that I'm going to shut up? I think curriculum development, and I've talked to John tonight about this before, the lack of it in this district for years is appalling. Curriculum guides, so on and so forth. We're more busy building buildings than we were taking care of our kids. This is important, and this is what schools are really all about. I want to commend you for the time and the effort that you put into this. And just because we're asking questions, I don't want you to be defensive with me, and we are. Because I do support what you're doing. And I hope that it all succeeds. And I hope that in the future, with future boards, understand that in order to make these programs and these curriculums successful, they may have to dedicate resources like money to making sure that those things continue to succeed.
In time.
Exactly. That's the big value about the lack of time to be able to do.
This also connects to a later agenda item that talking about professional development that deals with moving us from target assistance to school-wide title. And I'll explain more about that when we get into that. But just wanted to drop that connection because that's also going to help with professional development.
What I would like to see done here as different curriculums are worked on to point so we can bring them to the board and know that board happens to do. What I would have appreciated here from the time of the inception of working on the social studies curriculum, some kind of update to the board of what was happening, what was being looked at, cost, whatever you or we would have thought was appropriate. I'm a little bit dismayed that this suddenly appeared on the agenda and we're being asked to approve it. But I would like to see updates as progress is made.
So as this is an informational item and we'll be asked to take action on it here later in the meeting, I think I'd like to move us on. There will be opportunity for public comment, public questions during our action section of the meeting. So with that, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Item 6D takes us to our superintendent's report. We roll a charter school report, so maybe we can clear both items.
Yep. I'll make these pretty quick, but I feel like most of my job is communicating, but getting together with our committees. We have several different committees in this school district, whether they are board-based committees or whether they are school district-based committees where we might have a board member that sits on that committee. I tell you what, we have been continually meeting to help drive forward the business of the district. And I am proud of both of the staff members that sit on these committees, as well as the school board for the amount of work that they have done. I feel like this is month 9 for me, and I look back at all the things that we've accomplished in the last 9 months, and I'm proud, and I think we need to continue to keep telling that story of all the things, all the systems that we're creating, especially with curriculum. We talk about curriculum, but there are a plethora of other systems that go with curriculum that we are continually working on as well. And so, anyway, quickly, some of the updates. We have some policy coming forward tonight that we are been working on the thousands policies, which is all the school board policies. One of the ones that I wanted to highlight is dealing with the reorganization meeting that'll be in May as we reorganize the board for the chairman and the vice chair and the process that it goes through. We've had some great discussions on what that looks like, how it's connected to Robert's rules, and to really get that process down so everyone knows what that process is before. So that piece is coming to you tonight. We can do updates to it to get it ready for approval, hopefully before May. But I wanted you to make sure that that was a piece that we do talk about and look at, is that process for reorganization. That's one out of all the policies that we are proposing tonight. That's one that is probably most prevalent to making sure that we address. Another one in there is there's a new statement in there is about a trustee's position if vacant. Whether the trustee dies, resigns, moves out of district, is no longer a registered elector, is absent from the district for 60 consecutive days, or misses 3 consecutive board meetings without good cause, is removed by law, loses legal capacity to hold office, or if an elected candidate fails to qualify. And so that piece of it is, these are all using Calva laws proposed policies that she has given us. And so a lot of the policies you'll see have been changing from a lot of the policies previously were Montana School Board Association. So we're switching over a lot of them to Calva law since she represents us, and we felt like that's one of the best things to do. But that piece of policy, there's a piece in there that's new that she proposed in the sample proposed policy with the misses 3 consecutive board meetings without good cause. That was a piece that, I don't know if you had seen that, but that is something that we want to make sure that we understand as we go to vote tonight. Next piece is the resource committee update. We've been talking about with resource connected to our facilities is the RFP for the roof. Tonight you're going to vote on the roof replacement. We put a lot of time into looking at the proposals, talking with contractors. We even pushed out the recommendation from February 10th to March 10th to ask more questions and get the contractors back on site to ask more questions when we got up on the roof. And so I feel good about that recommendation going forward. I really want to thank the board members on each of these committees really for the research that they've done, for the questions they ask, and for helping support. There's no way that I can do all of this work that would be at this level without getting some support from the board and having board members a part of these tasks and processes to come forward with these recommendations. Resource committee also looked at, we've talked about staffing, charter school staffing, and we'll continue to keep talking about that staffing as we move forward over the next month. I have been meeting with the athletic, kind of a new committee, athletic activities and organization committee. We really worked on developing a philosophy, then creating what we believe in as a vertical aligned philosophy from elementary to middle school to high school. really digging into the athletic side of it first. And we have worked on job descriptions for what a coach looks like, what we believe should be a generalized coaching expectations. From there, we'll work on the assistant coach and move into the evaluation side of it, making sure evaluation matches a lot of what our job description as a team as we go forward do. I really think the process has been powerful because we've had students on this as well as board member and community members, some parents, and some coaches, and we're going to continue to keep asking. We have another meeting on this Friday. So I feel like we've made a lot of progress with getting that done. As you know, there hasn't been job descriptions for some of these jobs that we're talking about. We're also going to look at the athletic director job now and take a look at the job description for that. Brody's taking a look at that, as well as Ryan and our high school administration. We have also revised from the philosophy we built, revised the middle school and high school athletic handbooks, as well as the coaching handbook to mirror or match that philosophy that we first started building at the beginning with our beginning activities. And so I'm hoping by the end of the year, we'll have our evaluation system set up and start taking a look and digging into more of our activities and organizations, getting job descriptions for them as well. We don't have job descriptions for many of our activities or organizations that we have. The financial budget has been updated on my board report. That will be a standard going forward. Just giving updates on the general fund and transportation fund for both elementary and high school districts as comparing to the last 5 years. One of the pieces that I want to add to it is how we're doing to the current proposed budget that we proposed at the beginning of the year to where we're at now. That'll be an added section to this. Moving to the charter school, we have a list of events. Last Friday, the counselors and Zeke and I went with the Bitterroot College director to U of M College of Missoula and looked at all of their medical classes that they have and really wanted to get some ideas for what we were going to possibly do for that classroom that we're going to remodel. We looked at, I think, 7 different classrooms. We couldn't get them to open the boxes to the cadavers, but we did go in that. I don't know if we'll have cadavers here, but we did get to see some very cool classroom setups that we felt like for our classroom that we're building, that it will be multi-purpose and functional to be able to handle a lot of the different pathways that we're devising for students for the Science, Health and Science Academy. We're a little scared about what that looks like going forward. I think we have a better picture of what can be in that room. Tonight, we approved the new charter school director. Have a phone call out going to her tomorrow to start talking about time that she can put forward. She has to finish her current job, but she understands, and in the negotiation of getting the offer, that there was going to be some hours from now till the start of next school year that she would need to help support. Luckily, we have the counselors and Zeke, obviously, that are working hard to help with the pathways and scheduling, master scheduling, and getting some of these things set up. So we're going to be ready to roll on the first day next fall. I feel like we're ahead of the game from the other charter that got approved this year in Park County. You'll notice that they are taking a year off to really work on what it looks like. I feel good because we have 2 years of pathways ready to go already that we've been doing for the last 2 years. Now it's building year 3 and 4, which is more of the internship piece of it, and higher level science classes as well. And so the next piece will be doing some hiring, looking at kind of a combined position of an admin assistant, special education professional, looking at how we're going to cover the special education case manager as well as another science teacher. So that is, I'll continue to give updates each month with the report. That'll be something that Hannah will start doing this next year. Hannah Hauser is her name. The director giving the reports on this, and I can help support as we go forward. That's enough for both reports. Sorry, I know we have a long night, but there's a lot of information there.
Questions from the board on either of those reports? Questions from the public? Thank you, Superintendent Conan, for those reports and lots of great information. We do have our last section, which is our action items tonight. And, you know, it is 9:30. We'll keep trying to get going through these. So let's move on to item 7A, which is a request from the senior class to travel out of state this spring. So, yes, no member of the senior class is here?
No.
Okay.
They couldn't make it tonight. Erin Schaefer, I am one of the class sponsors for the senior class. And we would like to take the senior class to Silverwood. It's the same trip that they did last year for the senior class. It would be happening on Memorial Day, so a day where we don't have school, because that's the day that we're able to fit in with the schedule and with what Silverwood has availability for. So no missing school. We leave about 7 in the morning, get back that evening, probably around like between 9 and 10, sometime around then. And any student in the senior class is eligible to go as long as they are passing all of their classes. So just something fun to do at the very end, right before they leave.
Good. They use their class funds to.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, the floor is open for a motion.
I'll make a motion. Make a motion to approve out-of-state travel for the senior class to travel to Silverwood in Idaho on May 25th.
Moved by Billy, seconded by Jennifer. Questions or comments from the board? Questions or comment from the public? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Very good. All right, item 7B we handled earlier. Item 7C is the request for approval and the adoption of a 6th through 12th grade social studies curriculum. So at this time, the floor is open for a motion.
I move to approve the adoption of the new 6th through 12th grade social studies curriculum as presented.
Moved by Stephanie.
Second.
Seconded by Billy. All right, are there comments or questions from the board that we have not heard from earlier?
Because of my status on the board, do we need to have it as 2 separate motions, a 6 to 8 and a 9 to 12?
That's a great question. We're going to have the cost broke out that way, so probably just be best to not.
Or could we do it as like the consent agenda item where when you, I can't remember the wording of it, that you only approve the things that you have the right to approve?
That's a great question.
I mean,
should've-
fundage wise, I mean, I know the funds aren't broke out that way, but when we do go to purchase it,
It'll come out of both.
it'll come out of both.
And we don't have it.
We don't have it split that way here, though, no.
I don't have a great answer. I appreciate you asking. I feel like, and I know this is being recorded, so she might be watching, but I feel like we would say,
Amend.
or err on the side of not taking a vote. That
Couldn't it
it's easier to
just-
not do than take a vote that you have to repeat.
Right.
Is what I feel
But
like.
couldn't it just be amended to 2 separate votes?
Well, we're being asked to approve the fiscal is what we're being asked to approve. We don't have that broke out. I mean, we could table and break that out and figure out what it is. But that's the, you know, the number was given down to the beginning with what we're being asked to approve.
I just hate to put a delay in the purchase of the curriculum.
Sure.
I just think that, I mean, because the amount's not gonna necessarily change.
Mm-mm.
I just.
No, the full amount will
I know
stay the
I
same.
Don't have, or if I abstain from the vote, would that
Well,
then
That-
allow?
That's what I'm thinking.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say.
That would,
I think that-
I think that's probably the best and
I think that's what
easiest.
Via would say. That way you don't have to
Yes.
come back in April.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't.
I say we handle it like we would an elementary one where she wouldn't vote on it.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's possible.
Yes.
you actually wouldn't do it.
And we will keep that in mind moving forward if there is a
Yeah.
curriculum that is covering both elementary and high school. Yes.
Because with the ELA, it did.
Breakdown.
All right, thank you for asking that.
Thank you, Jennifer.
So the motion has been made and seconded to approve and adopt the curriculum. And further questions or comments from the board that weren't asked or addressed? Tony?
So because of who this is doing this, the staff, I want to support this and I'm going to, but going forward, I really am concerned about the long-term viability of our school. And I applaud Mr. Wells, everything he's done on this, everybody involved. And as long as you're on the, thank you for all you've done with the other project you've been working on. Money is gonna turn into a big deal, and just looking through this, you know, it's a 1 year, we'll be renewing this student access annually, parts of this will get renewed annually, and so, I just applaud your efforts working on it, and would really like to, so that you don't go down a road that we don't want to go down in the future. So, thank you for your work. That's all I have. Thanks.
Questions or comments from the public? There has been no opportunity for that. All right, in light and in clarity of our voting situation, I'll be calling for an individual roll call vote. Jennifer, should you desire to declare abstain, I will provide you all with that, so. Okay, I'll let you say that when we get to your name there. So, all right, so having no further comment or questions on the approval and adoption of the proposed 6th grade social studies curriculum, Dan, how do you vote? Jennifer? Tony?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
I vote aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
Billy? Aye. Skip?
Abstain.
The motion passes 6-0 with 2 trustees abstaining. Right, do we have out of district?
We do
enrollment? We do
not.
not, so we'll be moving on past item 7D to 7E. In your packet is another thing that is taking a lot of work for our administrative team and union representation, and that is update and clarification around the certified evaluation process. So, Superintendent Conan, is there anything you want to add to this before we adopt this?
I'd like to applaud the administrative team as well as the staff members from the union that came together to work on this. We had several meetings. Kind of interesting to me as a new superintendent to kind of go back and see how the Charlotte Danielson model was implemented, which is the evaluation system we use. Started being implemented right before COVID, then COVID hit, and not all the necessary professional development was done to continue the work on the development of the process itself. And so what we have found is some different processes going on between the 3 different schools. And so this is one of my areas that I love a lot. I have to admit that is the evaluations of the process anyway. I've done both the Marzano and this one. And so we worked hard to come together on what it looked like for the evaluation system for a pre-observation, an observation, and a post-observation. We also talked a little bit about what a plan of improvement might look like. And this is a 14-page memo of the whole process together. This is something that I could not find files or had anywhere, was the actual process for parts of the evaluation system. And so if you have specific questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those. But again, I want to acknowledge the hard work from the union and from us. It says in the teachers' CBA that 3 staff members and 3 administrators will come together, agree upon an evaluation system, which the superintendent then recommends to the school board. And looking back at the board minutes, that part was never done. And so that's why I put that language right at the beginning of the memo going out to staff is that wording, because I feel like we did a good job of following that wording to come up with this process. And we're ready to go with it. We've done some training with our administrators on the Charlotte Danielson model. So we all have kind of a base foundation for the model. There'll be continued professional development going forward. One of the things that I do that I felt was really powerful for me as a principal was walkthroughs with my supervisor. And it's pretty simple. You walk into a classroom, observe for a little while, then you come back out and you just ask the question, what'd you see, right? And so as people get more attuned to the different, there's 4 domains, 22 components that you evaluate on, you can start seeing how fast those start coming in your observations as you go in. Then you can start calibrating across all administration. And so that's been powerful for us. We actually had a guinea pig who went and taught a science lesson, and all of the admins sat in that class and evaluated him. And so I want to acknowledge Zeke for allowing us to do that. Thank you, Zeke. Zeke did a great job. Knowing that, though, that he has the itch for teaching, I probably wouldn't have let him do that. But, to be honest, I was really like, I knew he's a good teacher, he's a good administrator, but then watching him teach, I'm like, dang, that guy's, man, he hasn't been in the classroom for a couple decades. That guy knows what he's doing. So congrats, that was really good. Anyway, going back to the evaluation system, then we came back and had discussions about what we saw and connected it back to the Charlotte Danielson model. This type of professional development, I think, is powerful. I think the administrators really liked being able to watch some live instruction and then giving some feedback on not only what they saw, but also talking about what constructive feedback we can give to the teacher to be able to help move them forward. We connected to the goal setting process on how we set goals. And The major thing about Charlotte Jonathan model that's different from other evaluation models is that it is supposed to be done with the teacher and not to the teacher. So we're not coming in to evaluate and tell them exactly everything they need to do to make a better instructor. We are actually working with them to come up with goals that they want to work on, and they might be the same as administrator. The administrator might have another goal as well. And so they could be working on two goals, one the teacher is wanting to work on and one that the administrator is wanting them to work on too. Anyway, it's meant to be a collaborative process, and we started building that foundation for, I don't want to go back and say what should have been done earlier when this was implemented before COVID, but those are the processes that we need to do with the admin team. Now we need to do the professional development with the staff so they understand a little bit more about that Charlotte Donaldson Model 2, which we're building some professional development for the beginning of next year for staff to be able to, especially our new staff coming on, so they understand the whole evaluation process as they come in. So again, these are all systems that need to be put in place, I think, to help drive instruction and give good feedback. So that's what this whole process is. Questions from you guys or the public?
Do you put people on improvement plans often? Is it something that's pretty?
Okay.
Have you done it or?
20, let's see, how many years? 18 years, I probably have had 4 teachers on plan of improvements. So plan of improvement for instruction doesn't happen very often, but I believe it's something that we need to continue. We didn't have a process before. All we had was a form to fill out, and that was it. And so you fill out a form, but there was no process to how to use the form and what type of expectations are there for the teacher and expectations for the administrator, because it's combined coaching. And so this plan of improvement piece is all about coaching and giving feedback to get them. There's 3 different levels of plan of improvement, right? And the way that it's built is for providing more intense support if we make it down to that level 3, right? And so out of those 4 that I've had on plan of improvements, 2 of them actually didn't meet the standards, and they were not renewed for teaching the next year. But it doesn't happen very often in education. It's so much different from the business world going to the education world. And those numbers are pretty typical across the board if you talk to other administrators of how many people have actually worked with teachers that have been put on a plan of improvement. And so if we think of it as this is a way to catch them to increase student achievement and teaming with them, then it's not looked as such a punitive type of system. And so it's all about how you implement it and how you work with teachers on it. So not very often is the answer.
Really, it's almost a PD, professional development.
Totally. Totally, because what we find, especially when you have a high turnover of administrators, unfortunately, you would start all over again when a new administrator comes in with the whole process over again, right? And so that's the hard part with education. And having some of these processes in place is hopefully going to help both teachers and administrators.
At this time, the floor will be open.
I'll make a motion to approve the certified evaluation process.
Moved by Fran, seconded by Stephanie. Questions or comment from the board? Thank you, John. Thank you for the team that got this across the finish line. I was on the board before COVID. I don't remember, but I do know that COVID passed something.
We did ever talk to the board.
Yeah. I think we were busy going into this. Yeah. And that's not- questions or comments from the public? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to item 7F, which is the request for approval of the RFP for a high school roof replacement. In your packet is a full bid from Summit Roofing. And our facilities committee has spent quite a bit of time working through this. We've seen this come before us before, sent it back, revised and come back, and I've heard positive things about the work from the facilities committee and the cooperation hopefully with Summit Roofing to take care of a badly needed roof leak and then hopefully set our roof up for what is it, a couple decades, 3 decades of yeah. Success, weatherproof success. So like, lots of layers. That's lots of layers. Yes, 70 layers. Yeah. So we can ask some questions and get into some details if there are any to get into. But at this time, the floor will be open for a motion.
I would move to approve the roof for the high school.
Move to approve the bid.
Yes.
Is there a second? Second. Been moved by Tony and seconded by Billy, that we would approve the RFP as presented by Summit Roofing. And so that opens the door now for questions or comments from the board, or Superintendent Conan if you want to share more, or Tony or Billy if you'd like to share more and intimately involved in this project.
I just thank everybody for their patience and trying to get questions answered. I think these guys do a really good job. They get down basically to the subfloor and the subdeck, and should be very few repairs to that, and can use 30-year roof on it. So they're a really good company, and I think they do a good job. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't recommended.
And they were super flexible about working with us and coming back and showing up to the meeting.
I guess in the category of what I didn't know, 4 solar panels on the high school.
Should be coming off. Yeah.
Yeah, when you,
I don't know how long ago this has been up there.
Yeah.
Dave might know.
What's that?
The solar panels, there a long time, do they work anymore?
No, they don't.
Okay, tell us about it.
They're gone. They've been dead ever since I've been here, so that's 18 years ago.
That, see, now that's taking some sense, 18 years.
Now they're just toxic waste.
Did they leak around where they were?
No, they did not.
Okay, so that bug got right. Huh, so that was some previous,
Someone got something right.
previous board and some previous endeavor.
I'd like to add, I guess, thank you to the committee for helping out, especially with Tony, with asking further questions and getting them back on there. I'm very happy that we're doing it proactively. The last 2 schools I've at, their roofs are off, and I was at Lincoln Elementary as vice principal, where that roof came off in Great Falls, and then Columbia Falls with the roof off that last year. So I'm glad we're doing this proactively.
You don't want our roof?
Further question, comment from the board? Question or comment from the public? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item 7G, approval of application school-wide title designation. Mr. Combs.
Yeah, this is something that I believe now that our free and reduced rate is where it's at, pretty consistent. Moving from target assistance to school-wide, I included 10 different benefits for moving from target assistance to school-wide title. One of them connects to what we talked about today with professional development. You're able to spend the money across the district rather than just with targeted teachers or targeted interventions or targeted programs. This setup has a lot more flexibility with funding when you're able to combine other federal funds with this. There's more unified school improvement that we can do with the school improvement plan that will be required to move to this. There is some work to move to the school-wide plan, more so than just what you fill out on the computerized system that they have to do targeted assistance. And so we will be working on connecting our school-wide improvement plan to kind of the whole picture of how we can enhance the whole district. There are many advantages to being title school-wide. You're able to pull kids in and out of groups easier. Right now, we identify students and have to update families on who we're targeting, and there are specific seats for those kids. Once we move to school-wide title, we're going to be able to grab any kid and if they need it, and to be able to help get interventions to them quicker and faster. And so this is something I felt like is another system that hasn't been looked at that I think that would bring more benefits to our whole district.
Thank you, Mr. Conan. That being said, the floor is open for a motion.
I move for the approval of the application for school-wide title designation.
Seconded by Jennifer. I'll leave us off with a question. Downside? Is there?
Yeah, more paperwork and more accountability. And even though it says that one of the benefits is that the reporting looks less, there's actually, when you have to connect it to a whole school-wide plan on what you're doing, you have to be accountable for that money a little bit more so than targeted assistance guys. I don't see any other negatives to the process other than the reporting piece of it. It gives us with how we provide professional development, which students we service, and basically how we use that money too. So
is there is there more money available, or is it the same money being spread further?
Same money spread further.
But it gives us more options of what we can do with it.
I guess my concern would just be that it kind of, because I mean, right now it's designated for Title I kind of stuff, to maybe we use it somewhere else, and then we don't have it for the Title I stuff.
Well, it'll all be used for, I mean, that's the whole point of going school-wide, is that right now we're only servicing a small number of kids when we could be servicing a lot more kids with the same money to be able to give even specialized professional development. There's certain curriculum that we can pay for. There's a plethora of things, I guess, that kids would benefit from going to school-wide. Most schools that are making that transition, they're hesitant because of the paperwork and accountability to it. But I feel like that is a needed piece to move what we've started with successful interventions so far forward. Beth, you still here?
I'm here.
Sorry, I don't want to throw you out there. But anything else that I missed that you can?
Well, and I think I agree with you that there's more paperwork up front to get it all organized, but once we have it running, that will be minimal. But then the day-to-day paperwork that we do actually down in the building with the kids goes away totally. So our hands-on kids personnel is free of all of that. It's our job to get the paperwork done. So it moves where that paperwork goes, and our people that work with our kids have more time to work.
The more paperwork piece would be the tracking on our end, the tracking of the funds, and that it would be, but.
I'm afraid.
Well, the application is on my desk. It's going to take a little while to fill out, and we'll connect it to our school-wide improvement plan. And so I'm hoping as we start the next couple of meetings talking about that, we should start talking about what our school-wide plan is for school improvement plan going forward for next year. As we also seek new board members too, that'll be important. It'll be built and submitted right alongside as we work on the school improvement plan.
And who approves it, the state or the feds?
State.
State.
State. And the title dollars are a combination. States handling federal dollars for title, or they're all state? The money-
Well, it flows through the state.
It flows through the state, but it comes from the,
Right.
and.
That's always up for,
That's right.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we haven't learned yet about what cuts from the national government are gonna be for, because that could be a thing, yes, because we did have funds at the beginning of last year held for the first 4 months of school,
Right.
to the point where some districts were having to, across the nation, were having to stop programs
Yeah.
from occurring, like the, what's the after-school program? I forgot the name of it. Anyways, the several different programs had to be held from, I don't foresee that, but maybe.
Mainly because every public school in America is accessing title funds at some level, organically, so.
Right.
To disrupt that would be
Mhm.
an undertaking.
You would think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tony?
So in the last couple of motions we just made where you don't have to sleep anymore, you're gonna be working on the clock. I just did all these evaluations and now we're gonna, so that's.
We just plug them in before we leave, Tony.
You know what? I think,
That's the problem with the non-functional solar panels.
Nobody plugs them in, yeah.
well, one of the candidates tonight, I don't know which one it was, Skip or Chris, said that we make decisions based on kids. And I really feel like that decision is important, that we help try to give them the best environment. Right along with that, April 1st, we're going to be looking at going to community-wide eligibility for free lunch.
Free lunch.
And so we're above that threshold. And so once we
Yes.
look at that on April 1st and verify that, then we'll fill out that application as well, which would change Stevensville altogether, I think, for our lunches. It's a 5-year program going forward with that. So I think we met it last year, I think. They just never filled out the application, but it starts, we look at that data on April 1st, but that goes along with free and reduced rate also.
How does this program affect teachers?
The Title I program?
Yes.
Well,
Various ways.
lots of different ways. I guess you're able to pull kids more flexibly, able to use money more flexibly across, instead of just paying for targeted professional development for a certain amount of people that are doing the interventions themselves. You can now give some of the same professional development, not only to them, but to the rest of the staff too. Anything else, Beth, that you can think of?
Materials to be pushed into classrooms for all kids to use. You can use title monies as long as those title monies are serving title identified kids, where right now we have to roster every child as a child receiving Title I services. And if we are in a school-wide program, every single one of our kids is one of those. So A, we don't have to roster them, and B, they all get to have access to whatever. So it's kind of like, yes, it's the same amount of money, but we don't, I mean, we have to get, it opens it up so that can push into every tier 1 classroom too for support. So it could be teacher professional development if we see that benefits kids. It could be materials in classrooms. It could be any number of things.
So essentially, you'll have somebody in the room looking over the shoulder of the teacher, helping decide what to do with kids and the teacher.
I mean, we have.
I don't know.
We have paraprofessionals that help support with classroom instruction. We have 3 or 4,
We have 5.
that help pull groups right now or push in.
It's not new.
No, it's been forever. Forever.
No, I just wondered if that added more stress and more churn on teachers and more turnover on teachers.
Well, it actually provides more support with
Gives
professional
more
development
support.
and
Mhm.
Resources.
Yeah.
Hopefully, or hypothetically, it would eliminate the decision of, I'd like to see student X, Y, Z get some sort of intervention thing, and then as a teacher, you're mentally going through the math in your head, are they in the program or are they not? Oh, wait a minute, they're not. I can't. So hopefully it won't.
They also have to track whether or not those letters have been signed by parents and come back. It takes a job away from the teachers that they don't have to do it.
We're deciding on which kids get services too, get pullouts. There's a piece of that that was always difficult as a principal, deciding on which kids were going to get serviced or not, especially if there was attendance problem with them. Do you allow a kid that's never there or hardly there compared to a kid that's right there at the bubble that may not be getting the title services? Who do you serve? So it raises some of those questions too on who we are targeting for some of these services. This helps with that flexibility.
Further question or comment? Question or comment from the public? It's been moved and seconded that we would approve the application for school-wide title designation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 7H is a request and a resolution to impose levies. We're required by law under Senate Bill 307 to publish our intent to impose non-voted levies. We publish these in the newspaper. These are preliminary figures. They're in the board packet. That then would not be set until budget is set in August. And county mill values are set later in the year as well. And so these tables would then go out at some point, should they be approved, on these non-voted items in these clear budget categories for adult ed, bus depreciation, transportation, a flexibility fund or tuition fund, and our building reserve. And of course, the table there shares economic impact of a taxable value home at $100,000 and $200,000 per school district. The floor is open for a motion for the elementary district.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution of intent to impose an increase in permissive levies in the elementary district as presented.
Fran, is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Fran, seconded by Stephanie to adopt a resolution to impose the levies as presented in the elementary district. Questions, comment from the board, or further detailed explanation from the district office?
Before I'd like to allow our admin team to go. If they're okay with that. I want them semi-fresh for tomorrow. So, guys, if you are willing to go. It's 10.
So looking at these, I did a comparison to last year. Thanks, guys. And I know it's running late, so I'll just do a simple sum up, but we are, and I had Bill go over these with me, and we kind of looked at what they did last year, and some of it we weren't 100% sure of. And of course, it was just preliminary looking at last year, but at this point, it is an overall decrease that we were looking at of about 10,000, but it does put an increase of 0.23 mils. And if some of you aren't aware, and I won't go into a large explanation on tonight, but the state has changed how those mills are now figured this year, and it is very wonky. And very complex to figure out. I just did a workshop on it yesterday even. And so overall though, the way it's looking is because of the tax rates and the tax values, even though it is looking like an increase, it ends up being somewhat of a decrease to the taxpayer. So in the long run, I don't think it'll be too terrible of an impact.
And in approximate percentage, we're limited on what we can assess on the non-voted
Yes.
increase. How close to that are these moderate, slight increases, in some cases none in flexibility fund, or these pushing that upper ceiling?
They're not pushing the upper ceiling on some of them, no. On the building reserve, it is, because that goes off of our student count. And so we're only allowed a certain amount. So that is the absolute.
And bus appreciation, is there more, should we be looking at more there, for some?
So that goes.
Expenses we've had, some need for that fund.
Right. And so that goes off of a percentage. It may be able to move a little bit, but not a ton.
Okay, so
Yep.
fairly. So
Yep.
what's on the form is about.
Yeah. There'll be a little bit of room for flexibility on some of it, but some of it, there is a little bit that we're right close to. Yeah.
We took into account the 3.5 increase from Harlow's as well. For
Yes. Figuring
next year
bus
for the
transportation. Yes. We did figure that in.
For transportation.
For transportation, yes, not depreciation. Depreciation, we can only do a percentage. And so we did look at that, and that's about where.
Transportation.
Yes, and that one we, John figured that with that increase from what the Harlow's bill will be next year.
Does this have to go out?
So this does, and this is just preliminary. What it does is it opens the door for us so that we can work in these areas on the budget coming up.
So Senate Bill 307, which was a 2023.
Yes,
17.
17. Yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah, I mean, there's been some change. Yeah.
Requires that we request public
Yep.
be again in the table in August.
Yes.
I would just figure the optics.
So this, Tony, opens the door for us to be able to then move forward.
But I get your good point on the optics.
Yeah.
Optics with the tech levy and all that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
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 We thought about that as well.
We did, and tried to, yeah. So it is a decrease from, even though it looks like almost everything is an increase, it is a decrease from what was asked of last year.
And it is strange, for the first time in 10 years, we had the taxable, I mean, the actual mill itself went down like $4,000.
Yeah.
We probably will see an increase with the taxable value for next year.
And then also with it, there are some, and not a lot is out yet on tuition fund and how that will be handled this year. They're just starting to release how that will be handled this year on the income we are getting in. So that is still in the works there. So this increase is from our tuition fund of our special education students in district. And we, as of right now, it looks that we will, this year for our out-of-district students, we had to pay out more than we received in, and that has changed for this upcoming year. We will be receiving, preliminary right now, receiving more in than we are sending out.
And that'll all run through that county standardized mill, not the individual district tuition.
That's what, that is not, they haven't released everything on that yet and how we're to handle that. So we're getting little bits at a time, but they haven't given it all of it out yet.
Further questions, comment from the board? Question or comment from the public? if I'm gonna offer something to you that's unsolicited, you're probably not wanting to. But you got thrown in as we talked about in the interviews, and have received zero orientation. You try to offer a little bit of new board member orientation. One of the things in that orientation does talk about the legal avenues, the legal opportunity to abstain, and they're pretty few and far between in as a trustee, and so it really comes down to conflict of interest. So I hate to put that upon you, but you will be asked to vote. All right. Any further comment or question? All right, elementary action item here. Dan, how do you vote? Aye. Tony, how do you vote? Aye. Fran, how do you vote?
Aye.
I vote aye. Stephanie, how do you vote? Aye. Billy, how do you vote? And Skip, how do you vote?
Abstain vote?
I can't tell you it's not, but legal, it's supposed to be reserved for conflict of interest.
What about if you're not prepared to? I mean, without-
I know, that's why I said you got thrown in.
Yeah.
You got thrown in. It's really supposed to be reserved for conflict.
And Skip, the reason that these are being presented now is that according to the state, we have to have them preliminarily in the paper by March 31st. And so what this does by opening these up to the public, it allows us to then later on open up and ask for money in our budget. But if we don't do that, then we're limited.
Motion carries 7-0. We're being asked the same question, item 7HB for the high school. And the table with different numbers is in front of you. Floor is open for motion. Is there a second? It's been moved by Tony, seconded by Dan, that we would adopt a resolution to impose levies for the high school district as presented in the board packet. Question or comment from board? Question or comment from the public? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 7I tonight is a follow-up to some communication that you all have received earlier regarding the MTSBA annual membership survey. MTSBA requests, not a requirement, but they kindly request that one individual per school district fills out their membership survey, letting them know how they're doing and rating their different programs and processes with how we use them and what we think is in their school. This is asking that we authorize, in this case, I'll ask that you authorize me to fill out the survey. And so the vote would be to authorize me to fill out the survey no later than this Friday. And then within any discussion we might have, now would be the time to express any opinion that you want carried forth in this survey. You've had a chance to look at it here a little bit to make sure your opinion is reflected as we get one survey per school district. The floor is open for a moment.
I make a motion that our chair and to fill out the MTSBA annual membership survey by this Friday, March 13th.
Fran, is there a second? Seconded by Jennifer. With that comment and question and the comment from the board, is there anything any board member would particularly like expressed on the survey as it's presented in front of you? That and I'm ready to take notes. Otherwise, I'll fill it out at my discretion.
Is that something that has to be communicated now, or can we, okay, you know, email you?
I mean, probably could. That's why.
Just something comes up.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we shared it. Yeah, we shared it out earlier to give everybody a chance to look to what it brings back. If this isn't a significant action item requiring on the district, but it does put us more in the public eye to express those things now rather than over email. So I was like, we're on the side of that.
I read it through, I feel like my experience with them, with that's work, is largely positive. I don't think that us as a district have experience with a few of these. The one catching my eye is the Musk Health Insurance. There's a couple others in here. But I think especially their training resources, their website, I feel like have been very valuable for me personally, being able to get information and find things quickly.
Thank you. Duly noted. Other comments from the board? Tony?
Are our comments going to be strictly limited to the items on this page? Should they be?
Yes, I don't think there's a large open section. Yeah, I'm filling out with here. I'm not sending blanks an email. And not that can't happen sometime, but that would not be under this action. But yes, if there were interest in expressing something to MTSBA outside of the survey, that would be a different. Further comment or question? All right, all those in favor of authorizing the survey is filled out, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 7J, approval of the election contract with Ravalli County Administration. That is for the.
This is just a repeat of what you've already signed. It just, the county requests that now that we have the verbiage for the ballots, that the board re-looks at it, says yes, and then I send it back to the county. Just one more step before they prep the ballots.
All right, and that's in the early part of the packet then? The language?
It's in the yeah, it's on the resolution itself, just that little middle section, and it's the same for each district. And it does look weird that it's the 175,000 because it says in addition to the 75,000 that we're already receiving that will sunset. Yeah. So it looks a little wonky the way the ballot makes us do the wording. And then also it's, yeah, and then even though it still shows that we have elections for trustees, that part just stays the same, but I have canceled the election.
Okay.
We just don't mess with changing what we've already submitted that way, yeah.
And I don't want to mess with anything on this document, but do we see walk-in ballots on the day of for the school?
We have at times, yes.
Okay. Do we have, 300 Park Street is.
So yes, and it will say the elementary gym foyer. Yep, it will be specific and there will be signs out. I'm picking up everything for those people the day before and then meeting them at 6:30 for setup and making sure their signage is out, and then they will return it that night to the county.
Okay, and we are approving the election contract. We don't need to split this by district, it's just the same.
The verbiage is exactly the same for each district.
Or are we voting twice?
It's a really good question because we only, there are 2 ballots for each. Yep. Yep. So we would need to do, yep. Yep. There's 2 ballots. So do 2. Yeah. Yes.
Right, let's handle this as an elementary and high school motions. The floor is open for the approval of election contract with the Valley County Election Administration based on the language in front of you in the board packet for the elementary district. Floor is open. Moved by Fran, is there a second? Second. Seconded by Billy. It's been moved and seconded that we approve, elections contract with Valley County Election Administrator. Language in front of you, for the elementary district. Dan, how do you vote? Aye. Tony? Aye. Fran?
Aye.
I vote aye. Stephanie? Billy? Aye. And Skip? Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Floor is open for a motion to approve an election contract with Ravalli County Elections Administration for the high school district. So moved. Moved by Tony, seconded by Jennifer. Questions or comments? Questions or comment from the public? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 7K is the approval of policies on first reading tonight. John went through these policies fairly well in his report, but we have 11, 12, 11, 20, 11, 30, 12, 10, 12, 30, and 12, 40, all of which are in your packet. And barring no request from the policy committee to make a change or handle these individually. Not hearing any. The floor is open for a motion.
So moved.
Been moved by Tony. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dan. Questions or comments from any board member or any clarification from a member of the policy committee? Very good. Questions or comments from the public on these first reading policies? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're being asked to approve for second reading, which of course is our final reading, policy 1000 and 1110, also which are in your packet and we have handled at previous board meetings. So, floor is open for motion.
I move to approve policy 1000 and 1110 on second reading.
Second.
Moved by Stephanie, seconded by Tony. Questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the public? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Policy committee is recommending the removal of policy 1113, removing it completely from our policy book. The floor is open for motion.
I move that the board approve the removal of policy 1113 vacancies, vacancies. Let's start over. I move that the board approve the removal of policy 1113 vacancies policy from school board policy.
There's a second. Sorry, who was that? That was Tony. Moved by Stephanie, seconded by Tony. Questions or comment from the board? Questions or comment from the board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to action item 7L, which is a continuation of our evaluation, the annual evaluation of our superintendent. So at this time, I will be offering to close the meeting to the public under the authority of Montana Code Annotated 2-3-203. Whereas the presiding officer of any public meeting in Montana may close the meeting during this time, that the discussion relates to the matter of individual privacy. Does the adult party involved wish to waive their right to privacy?
We will go private.
They are not waiving their right. So at this time, I deem that the individual's expectation of privacy outweighs the public's right to know. The board will call itself back into public session at the conclusion of the evaluation, which we will then do a public consideration approval of a contract with Mr. Conan, and we will take a public vote to adjourn after that. So we will come back into public session, but at this time we are in closed session.
Thanks, guys. Have a good